Konoha, left eye Rinnegan, right eye Reincarnation. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction, so please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story and all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter, and if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 101 High-End Hunter. As soon as Jojuan entered, he attracted many gazes. After all, a handsome young man like him was extremely rare. He usually attracted a lot of attention on the street, otherwise, Hinata wouldn't have fallen in love with him at first sight. Jojuan quickly locked his gaze on a girl sitting in the corner. She had long cherry blossom hair, fair skin, and looked like the kind of well-behaved and cute girl. At this moment, she was looking at him with a slightly nervous expression. Although I'm annoyed by my dad, I can't deny that the girls he arranges for me to meet are always quite pretty, Jojuan muttered to himself. Uzumaki Dragon had shown him the girl's photo last night, so he was familiar with her. He walked over confidently and sat down opposite the girl. Would you like something to drink? The girl asked, holding the cup full of coffee in front of her tightly with both hands, as if afraid that Jojuan would snatch it away. Jojuan smiled faintly and gestured to the waiter. How much is your most expensive coffee? The waiter's eyes lit up, thinking he'd encountered a VIP customer. 50 taels, 50 taels, that's quite expensive. For the same price, he could have bought a cup of deer blood from the Nara clan to nourish his kidneys. What about plain water? The waiter hesitated, then replied, plain water is free. Okay, give me a bucket. Jojuan nodded. Waiter, girl on the blind date, it has to be piping hot, preferably freshly boiled. Go ahead. Jojuan waved his hand. The waiter gritted her teeth, then left with a resentful look. She couldn't understand how such a handsome young man, a red-haired member of the Uzumaki clan, could be so stingy. Jojuan finished his initial performance and began talking to the girl. I'm not very thirsty, some plain water will do. The girl clearly didn't have his thick skin and was a little embarrassed. By the way, I still don't know your name. My name is Hiruno Kiku, not bad, a good name. Jojuan suddenly paused. Her surname is Hiruno, and she has cherry blossom-colored hair. Am I going on a blind date with Sakura's great-grandmother? It's quite possible. The current Uchiha village is more prosperous than the capital of the Land of Fire. Besides the civilians suffering from the ravages of war, some small ninja clans have also moved to Uchiha village seeking refuge. What's wrong? Hiruno Kiku asked, puzzled. The other person seemed to react strongly to her name. Nothing, your name is really nice. Jojuan coughed lightly, saying casually, my name is Uzumaki Jojuan. You already know my situation, right? Hiruno Kiku bit her lip and nodded. Unlike Jojuan, she had done her homework for today's blind date. That's good, Jojuan continued, you saw it just now. I'm not afraid you'll laugh at me, but although I'm the village chief's son, my father is extremely stingy. He never gives me money, so I can't even afford a cup of coffee. I can only drink plain water. I can treat you, Hiruno Kiku whispered. Jojuan was taken aback, then laughed, no need for that. I'll have money after we get married. Then I'll separate from my brother and get a lot of money, enough for our future life. Tsunaju became more and more confused, and couldn't help but interrupt. Married? Yes. Jojuan looked at her suspiciously. Don't you want to marry me? Tsunaju was even more confused, and began to doubt herself. Did the matchmaker invite her over to get married directly? Or was it a blind date? There are a few things I need to tell you first, Jojuan began, rambling on. After we get married, the man will be the breadwinner, and the woman will manage the household. You'll do all the housework, and I'll control the finances. Also, men, when they're out doing big things, they're bound to have many women around. Don't be jealous, and don't worry about it. No matter how many women I have outside, it's just for fun. You can stay home and enjoy your life. Furthermore, I actually don't really like girls like you who are good girls, because they're boring. I prefer rebellious girls who are free-spirited, sexy, and thrill-seeking, who smoke and drink heavily, not like you sipping coffee. I hope you can change that in the future, otherwise we'll really just be making do. Did you understand everything I said? Tsunaju fell silent. Jojuan maintained his calm smile, staring at her. He believed that any normal girl would be hard-pressed to understand him. After a long silence, Jojuan's smile faded, and he said impatiently, "Don't you understand? If you don't understand, then forget it." Suddenly, a loud whoosh sounded. Hiruno Kiku pushed back her chair, crossed her legs, unbuttoned a few buttons on her chest to reveal a large expanse of white skin, and pulled a cigarette from her pocket, lit it with practiced ease, and leisurely exhaled a puff of smoke. Jojuan stared in disbelief, thinking the other woman was more versatile than a transformer. Had he really messed with Sakura's great-grandmother? You should have said so earlier. Pretending for so long was killing me, Hiruno Kiku complained loudly, a far cry from her previous innocent and obedient image. Jojuan, let me tell you, we're a perfect match. I'm exactly your type, and you have a village chief father, so it's not too bad. After we get married, as long as you give me enough money, I promise we'll each do our own thing and not interfere with each other." Excitedly, Hiruno Kiku removed the lid from her cup and downed her coffee in one gulp. Glug glug, how refreshing. Jojuan was speechless. He finally understood, the other woman hadn't been messed with, but rather revealed her true colors. He had almost fallen for her trick. High-level hunters often appear as prey, and without a doubt, Hiruno Kiku was a high-level hunter. "Dad's so unreliable, arranging blind dates for me with all sorts of people," he grumbled. Hiruno Kiku, oblivious to Jojuan's inner turmoil, continued, "It's better to be early than late. Here's what we'll do, Jojuan, go back and tell your father to get our marriage arranged tomorrow. The dowry is up to you." Jojuan's face had turned as black as the bottom of a pot. Hiruno Kiku was still rambling on when she suddenly realized something was wrong and looked at him with surprise. "Did you understand what I said?" "Did I understand?" Jojuan gritted his teeth and squeezed out two words, "Goodbye." He stood up abruptly, completely ignoring Hiruno Kiku's attempt to stop him, and left on his own. To think that I, the strongest ninja in the world, was almost tricked into being a sucker. What a mess. Jojuan was extremely frustrated and hurried home. Today's blind date turned out to be completely unexpected. He'd never been so speechless in his life. In his previous 25 blind dates, Jojuan would deliberately make a bad impression on the women. If he couldn't perform well, he'd use illusion magic to hypnotize them, making them subconsciously dislike him and break off contact later. But this time, he couldn't even be bothered to use illusion magic on Hiruno Kiku. Chapter 102. That kid Ashina is the real sister-obsessed one. I'm afraid I'll end up like Tobirama and Madara, alone until the end. Jojuan sighed heavily. This thought didn't arise out of nowhere. He was already instinctively repulsed by women. He had too many secrets, each one incredibly significant, to the point that he feared he might reveal them in his sleep. Therefore, he couldn't imagine what it would be like to share a bed with a girl, spending every day together. Furthermore, due to his strength and his status as a transmigrator, he possessed a natural sense of superiority when facing women of the opposite sex his own age, feeling they were immature and unworthy of him, their intellectual level incomparable. Perhaps Jojuan didn't outwardly express this superiority, but it was definitely there in his bones. Even when facing Hyuga Rika, he subconsciously looked down on her. If he couldn't even look at her, then naturally, he couldn't possibly feel affection or attraction. Based on this mentality, Jojuan had never looked up to any girl from childhood to adulthood. Well, let's just say there was one, his sister, Mito. In Jojuan's eyes, Mito was absolutely perfect. Not only was she beautiful and strong, but she was also shrewd and virtuous. In front of his sister, all of Jojuan's inherent superiority and pride vanished, and he became a complete brat. Sometimes, Jojuan even thought that if he ever fell in love with a girl in the future, she would definitely have many things in common with Mito. He might think this, but admitting to having a sister complex was absolutely impossible. He wasn't Ashina. That kid was the one who truly had a sister complex. Second brother. At that moment, a familiar voice came from behind. Speak of the devil, and he appears. Jojuan turned around and saw a handsome young man walking towards him with a smile, holding the hand of a beautiful young woman with flowing red hair. 17-year-old Ashina was completely different from 4 years ago. The childishness on his face had completely faded, replaced by maturity and composure, all the marks of his father's strict upbringing. His past 4 years had been far more agonizing than Jojuan's. The girl beside Ashina was named Uzumaki Biwa, who also worked for Uzumaki Ryu. Ashina and she had developed feelings for each other over time, and they had officially become a couple 6 months ago. It's worth noting that Uzumaki Biwa is 4 years older than Ashina, which is key evidence that Jojuan is certain his younger brother is attracted to his older sister. Second brother, it really is you, Ashina exclaimed in surprise. Shouldn't you be on a blind date at this time? I didn't dare call out when I saw your back. Don't mention it, it's a long story. Jojuan didn't want to reveal his reputation as a blind date expert in front of his younger brother's girlfriend. He had his pride. Hearing his brother's words, Ashina immediately understood. His brother had over 20 failed blind dates. This time, things were probably going badly for him. Young Master Jojuan, Uzumaki Biwa greeted Jojuan as well. She felt a little embarrassed to bump into her boyfriend's older brother on a date with him. We're all family, no need to be so polite. Jojuan waved his hand subconsciously. You can call me second brother, just like Ashina. Upon hearing this, he felt a pang of annoyance. Uzumaki Biwa was a year older than him, by age. He should call her older sister. Ashina had actually wooed her. Wasn't that a sister complex? Furthermore, because they were both from the Uzumaki clan, Ashina and Uzumaki Biwa were somewhat related. According to the clan genealogy, he should call her his cousin. However, that wasn't a problem. In the Warring States period, even one could marry their own cousin. Of course, one's own sister was absolutely out of the question. Okay, second brother, Uzumaki Biwa blushed and obediently replied. You and Ashina go on having fun. I'm going home to take care of some things, Jojuan said, feigning maturity. Of course, he had nothing to do, he just didn't want to disturb his younger brother's private time. I suppose second brother's blind date failed again, Ashina sighed regretfully, watching Jojuan's departing figure. Another failure. Uzumaki Biwa's gaze was strange. Ashina hadn't hidden anything from her privately, so she knew all about Jojuan's previous 20+ failed blind dates. To be honest, it was truly remarkable that the village chief's son had ended up like that. Those girls are so stupid, Ashina suddenly said indignantly. If they had seen even the slightest merit in second brother, they would never have rejected him. Oh, Uzumaki Biwa raised an eyebrow, feeling that her boyfriend had also called her stupid, because she hadn't seen any merit in Jojuan either. The clan chief's son's reputation within the clan wasn't outstanding, he was just another ordinary person. If it weren't for Ashina's connections, Uzumaki Biwa wouldn't have greeted Jojuan even if they passed each other face to face. What's so great about second brother? She asked curiously. My second brother, Ashina paused, abruptly stopping himself from finishing his sentence. He wanted to say that his second brother was far superior to Senju Tobirama, that he had developed techniques like the multiple shadow clone jutsu, the Rasengan, and the Chidori. Tobirama Senju is hailed by the Senju clan as the greatest ninja developer in 500 years, but so what? He still plagiarized my second brother's sexy jutsu, only turned up with a disastrous imitation, nearly getting beaten half to death by his own father. What's wrong with your second brother? Biwa Uzumaki continued to ask. Anyway, my second brother is just smart. No one in Uzushio village can compare to him. Ashina abruptly changed his tune. He remembered his promise to his second brother, taking the blame for him, not even revealing it to his girlfriend. Biwa Uzumaki, she felt her boyfriend was being a bit petty. If your second brother was really that smart, how could he have remained unknown for 20 years? The Dragon Clan chief wouldn't have chosen you as his successor. It seems I don't know enough about your family. Finally, Biwa Uzumaki smiled sweetly. Although she had doubts about Ashina's words, feeling that he blindly worshipped his brother, she didn't refute them, choosing to agree and comply. This is the advantage of dating an older sister. Older sisters are caring, tolerant, and allow for occasional rebellious and childish behavior. If Ashina's girlfriend were more competitive, the two would probably be arguing right now. Ugh, so annoying. Back home, Jojuan's head started to ache. If Dad knew I failed my blind date today, he'd definitely keep arranging blind dates for me. Judging from his attitude, he won't let me go until I'm married. But the problem is, I can't find a girl who makes my heart flutter. I can't just settle for someone I neither like nor dislike, just to get married. That would be too much suffering. Jojuan wasn't one to compromise. The thought of spending the rest of his life with someone he didn't like terrified him. Yes, he, who wasn't even afraid of having his eyes gouged out on the battlefield, was actually afraid of marriage. I need to do something to distract Dad. What should I do? Chapter 103 The Wedding in Progress. I've got it. Jojuan suddenly had a flash of inspiration and came up with a brilliant idea. I can arrange a marriage between Ashina and Biwa. That way, Dad will definitely focus his attention on Ashina and won't have time for me. Moreover, once Ashina is married, having children will continue to divert Dad's attention, and I can then legitimately ask to separate from the family and move out. From then on, I'll be far away from Dad's reach, and he won't be able to control me even if he wanted to. The more Jojuan thought about it, the more feasible the plan seemed. This was the only way to get rid of his father. However, after Ashina gets married, I won't be able to fool him like I did when he was a child. After all, people with wives become smarter, and they have someone else to help them make decisions. Thinking of this, Jojuan felt a little melancholy. For the first time, he felt that growing up wasn't so good. First, his sister left him, and now his brother was about to leave too. He regretted not fooling Ashina more when he was a child. Before evening, Ashina returned home after finishing his date with his girlfriend. He was off work that day as well. Ashina, come here. I need to discuss something with you. Jojuan coughed and sat up halfway in the rocking chair. What is it, second brother? Jojuan cut to the chase. You and Pippa have been dating for almost half a year now. What do you think of her? She's great. I'm very happy when I'm with her. Ashina scratched the back of his head, unsure how to express himself. Jojuan's expression became slightly unnatural, sensing the stench of romance. Since that's the case, you two are both getting on in years. Why don't you get married soon? He said. Ashina was taken aback. What? Is there a problem? Ashina hesitated. Second brother, I'm not ready yet. Jojuan dismissed him. These things don't need preparation. Like when my brother-in-law came to propose, he finalized the marriage with my eldest sister that very night. There was no preparation at all, and now their son is old enough to run errands. Ashina still seemed hesitant, as if he had something difficult to say. Jojuan's heart tightened at the sight, wondering if his younger brother was a scumbag who just wanted to play around. Or perhaps he thought Pippa was too old, she'd be fine as a girlfriend, but not as a wife. Just as he was lost in thought, Ashina finally voiced his concerns with difficulty. My second brother isn't even married yet. It wouldn't be good for me to get married first. Let's talk about it later. Jojuan was taken aback, then pondered for a moment, roughly understanding what his younger brother meant. In large families, the concept of seniority was quite important, involving etiquette. If a younger brother got married before his older brother, it would negatively impact the older brother's reputation, making him seem incompetent, being several years older than his brother yet unable to find a wife. Wait for me to get married? You've got a long wait, Jojuan muttered to himself. He didn't know when he would meet someone he liked, and he couldn't let his younger brother waste his time. He said earnestly, Pippa is 21 this year. When I was 20 and still unmarried, my father was already frantically trying to find me a wife. How anxious do you think Pippa's family must be? Ashina was stunned by his second brother's question, his eyes widening. Jojuan pressed his advantage. You can't be too selfish. You're young, but be wise. A girl's youth only lasts a few years, it can't be delayed. Listen to your second brother, cherish the person in front of you. It's rare to meet someone you truly like, marry her as soon as possible. Jojuan wasn't just trying to fool his brother, it came from the bottom of his heart. If he could meet someone he truly liked, he would have already made his move. Unfortunately, he hadn't. Ashina hesitated for a moment, then said tentatively, then, I'll listen to you, second brother, of course you should listen. Would your second brother ever harm you? Jojuan affirmed matter-of-factly. In fact, back when Ashina and Biwa first started dating, Jojuan had secretly observed Biwa for a while, vetting her for his brother, and the result was naturally that there were no problems. As fellow members of the Uzumaki clan, they knew each other well and there was no need to worry that Uzumaki Biwa was a high-level hunter like Iruno Kiku. Furthermore, even if the other party truly had designs on Ashina, they could easily pull off a scene like Marong's, finding ways to manipulate and destroy her. The sun set, and dusk fell. The dragon chief, having worked all day, returned home before nightfall. Ashina, timing it perfectly, had already prepared the meal. Ever since finding a moving worm in her second brother's stir-fried vegetables, Ashina had insisted on cooking every meal, honing her culinary skills over 4 years. How was the girl today? Uzumaki Ryu asked as soon as he sat down at the table, his eyes fixed intently on his second son, as if he would immediately use his Vajra chains to hang him up and beat him if he heard anything bad. Father, what kind of people have you found for me? Jojuan sighed and began to complain, embellishing Chunaiju's terrible behavior at noon, and adding at the end, "If you keep arranging blind dates for me like this, I'll never go on another one." Uzumaki Ryu's eyes flashed. He wasn't an unreasonable person. This time, Jojuan was indeed at fault, and that kind of girl would never enter his family. "I know, next time I'll have someone investigate the other person's character beforehand," he said calmly. "Don't do it next time," Jojuan interrupted, quickly getting to the point. "Ashina has something to tell you tonight. Hurry up and say it, Ashina." He frantically winked at his younger brother. Ashina mustered his courage and said shyly, "Father, I want to marry Biwa," and second brother agrees. Uzumaki Ryu raised an eyebrow and fell silent. He never worried about Ashina's marriage. What truly troubled him was Jojuan. He had originally planned to settle Jojuan's affairs before helping Ashina with hers. After all, he owed Jojuan quite a bit. "Father, Pippa is older than me, she should be worried." Jojuan added fuel to the fire. "Alright," Uzumaki Ryu finally nodded. It was always a good thing for his youngest son to get married and start a family early. As for his second son, he could only make it up to him later. "Tell Pippa tomorrow that I'll visit her parents at her house tomorrow night." Uzumaki Ryu actually wanted to act tonight, but then he thought that it would be too rash to go to her house to propose marriage without even saying hello. He wasn't Senju Butsuk. Just thinking about Senju Butsuk made him resentful. That roughneck barged in like a fool, didn't play by the rules, and kidnapped his daughter that very night. He had actually agreed to him so easily back then. It was a miracle. "Okay," Ashina agreed immediately. He was extremely excited, his face flushed. "My eldest sister will definitely come back for Ashina's wedding. It's been 2 months since I've seen her." Jojuan looked forward to it secretly. "I wonder if my sister is coming back alone or with her family. Hashirama, now the head of the Senju clan, probably won't have time, and that little brat, Saojin, is too young. He'll likely be brought along by my sister." Transitional chapter: The Ninja World War begins the day after tomorrow. Chapter 104: The Walking Seduction Technique. The following evening, after a busy day, Uzumaki Ryu and Ashina went straight to Biwa's house, prepared gifts, and went to propose marriage. Jojuan, wanting to join in the fun, went along. Biwa's parents were overjoyed that their daughter could marry Uzumaki Ryu. Their expressions could only be described as flattered and overwhelmed. They wanted to agree immediately and had no reason to refuse. The exchange between the two families went very smoothly and amicably. They quickly settled on all the details of the wedding and decided that the two young people would get married in 5 days. "Now everything is ready, you just wait to be the groom in 5 days, Jojuan joked, putting his arm around Ashina's shoulder as they left Biwa's house, genuinely happy for his brother. Ashina grinned foolishly, a longing expression on his face. What young man doesn't want to walk down the aisle with the girl he loves? Time passed quickly, and 4 days later, upon learning of his brother's wedding, Mito returned to Uzumaki village the day before the wedding. As the saying goes, a married daughter is like water spilled from the bowl, and this isn't just empty talk. Since marrying into the Senju clan, Mito rarely returns home, sometimes not because she doesn't want to, but because she has no choice. Grandpa, uncles, a little boy of about 4 years old rushed into the clan head's mansion, chattering like a little husky. "Little thing, I knew you'd come today." Jojuan picked up the boy and planted a big kiss on his cheek. "Stinky. Stinky," the boy wiped his drool, twisting and struggling. "Uncle, let me go. I want to go find Grandpa." This was the fruit of Mito and Hashirama's love, named Senju Munechika, a real troublemaker. It's worth mentioning that Mito gave birth to Munechika less than a year after their marriage, but now, 4 years later, she still hasn't conceived, suggesting they have no plans for a second child. As the two were playing around in the courtyard, Jojuan suddenly noticed Mito and Hashirama entering one after the other. "Brother-in-law, you're here too. I thought you were too busy." Jojuan was surprised. Shouldn't the clan leader be like their father, sitting in the clan headquarters day and night? "I had Tobirama temporarily handle my official duties," Hashirama explained with a simple smile. Jojuan seemed thoughtful. She remembered that in the original story, after Hashirama became Hokage, he spent his days idly gambling, leaving Tobirama to handle most of the official business. Poor Tobirama, he probably wouldn't escape his overworked fate from the original story even years later. "Even Ashina is married, aren't you interested?" Mito earnestly advised her brother. Besides Uzumaki Ryu, She was the one who worried about Jojuan the most. If you really can't find someone you like in Uzumaki village, you can go to the Senju clan's territory. Mito was well aware of Jojuan's more than 20 failed blind dates, but she believed the problem must lie with the women. Her brother was so outstanding, how could he not find a partner normally? Forget it, if Senju girls were really that great, Tobirama wouldn't be single to this day, and my brother-in-law wouldn't have come to her house to propose back then, Jojuan retorted, convinced that there was definitely something wrong with the Senju girls. No, Uncle Tobirama is single because he likes men. Zio Zongzun shook his head vigorously. Blurting out the truth, Mito's face darkened, and the next second she snatched her son from Jojuan's arms, pulled down his pants, and slapped his bottom hard, scolding him as she did so. You have no manners. Who taught you to talk like that? That's right, everyone says that. Why? Don't hit mommy, grandpa, help me, Zongzun screamed at the top of his lungs, howling like a banshee. Hashirama stood by, looking embarrassed, wanting to stop him but not daring to, while Jojuan watched with great interest, quite happy to see his nephew get a beating. There was no way around it, Zongzun was just too naughty. His sister, who was originally such a gentle and virtuous young woman, was now so angry that she would pull down his pants and beat him at the drop of a hat. In 2 years, when Zongzun is older and more resilient, his sister will probably follow in their father's footsteps and hang him up with the Vajra chains to whip him. Thinking of this, Jojuan felt a pang of sympathy for his nephew. A childhood without being whipped by the Vajra chains is incomplete. Zongzun's words just now actually revealed a lot of information. Children don't speak without reason, there must be some factual basis. As Tobirama gets older, his continued reluctance to find a partner is driving Butsuma crazy. Butsuma couldn't help but recall the horrific incident involving the seduction technique 4 years ago, and began to doubt himself. Had he not wronged Tobirama back then? Was he truly someone who wanted to pursue a more conventional path? At this critical juncture, Tobirama, to his dismay, was caught by Butsuma developing the seduction technique again, the same familiar scene, the same dozen or so naked Naimake's Minato men. That day, the wind was strong in the Senju clan territory, the clouds were white, and Tobirama was beaten terribly, his reputation within the clan infamous, a social death. As an aside, after that beating, Tobirama never touched the sexy jutsu again, sealing it away as a forbidden technique. Years later, Butsuma passed away, and with no one left to teach Tobirama a lesson, he picked up the sexy jutsu again, passing it on to his disciples Hiruzen, Danzo, and Kagami. Later, Hiruzen passed it on to Jiraiya, who then passed it on to Minato Naimakes. As Minato grew up, Tobirama's students were shocked to discover that he looked exactly like their master's sexy jutsu template. Could their master have foreseen the future? Thus, Minato gained a title that shook the entire ninja world, not the Yellow Flash, but the walking sexy jutsu. Mito was disciplining her son when a dry cough suddenly echoed in the courtyard. Whirlwind Dragon walked out of the house with a stern face, coldly snorting, making a racket as soon as you get back. What kind of behavior is this? Mito, who was dignified in front of her son, was no better than Jojuan in front of her father, immediately wilting and reluctantly letting go of Zongzun. Grandpa, help me. Why? Zongzun pulled up his pants and ran into Whirlwind Dragon's arms as if fleeing, complaining bitterly. Don't be afraid, with Grandpa here, no one can hit you. Whirlwind Dragon's serious face instantly softened with tenderness, carrying Zongzun into the house, even magically producing some candy to cheer him up, completely ignoring the 3 people behind him. Jojuan and her sister exchanged bewildered glances. To be honest, the 2 siblings were a little jealous of Zongzun at this moment. When had Whirlwind Dragon ever shown them such affection when they were children? In Jojuan's memory, he had been beaten by his father more often than he had been hugged. Even if it's a case of grandparents favoring their grandchildren, this is just too biased, Jojuan muttered to herself. Then she said to her sister and brother-in-law, never mind Zongzun. Ashina is at Biwa's house right now. I'll take you to see the bride. Chapter 105 The Complex Hashira. Upon seeing Mito, Biwa was even more excited than Ashina. Back when Mito was still a young girl, Biwa idolized her and aspired to become the second Mito of the Uzumaki clan. Now, as her idol sister-in-law, she had indirectly fulfilled her dream. I didn't realize Biwa was such a fan of her sister, Jojuan remarked, watching Biwa and Ashina excitedly talking to Mito. He thought the 2 newlyweds, one a fan of his sister and the other a fanboy, seemed to share a common passion. Brother-in-law, Let's go for a walk, Jojuan said to Hashirama. They couldn't get a word in edgewise and were getting bored at Biwa's house. Okay, Hashirama nodded. Soon, the two strolled aimlessly through the streets of Uzashio village. Jojuan observed Hashirama intently, noticing a clear look of envy in his eyes as he gazed at the bustling crowds. Brother-in-law, isn't our Uzashio village pretty good now? Jojuan asked with a smile. Even the capital of the Land of Fire has been completely surpassed by us. Yes, it's really good, much better than any other ninja clan, Hashirama affirmed. He was a straightforward man. If he said something was good, it truly meant it was good. Brother-in-law, I think you should follow my father's suggestion and bring the Senju clan to join Uzashio village. Jojuan seized the opportunity. Anyway, you think Uzashio village is great, so why not enjoy a peaceful and comfortable life instead of fighting and killing with other ninja clans? 2 years ago, during Uzashio village's rapid development, Uzumaki Ryu had visited the Senju clan's territory with the aim of persuading the Senju clan to join Uzashio village, promising that Senju clan members would enjoy the same treatment as Uzumaki clan members and enter the village's high-level decision-making. Upon learning of Uzumaki Ryu's intentions, the Senju clan was initially overjoyed, feeling it was a windfall. They thought they could effortlessly claim a share of the wealth the Uzumaki clan had painstakingly built. No intelligent person would refuse. However, the outcome surprised everyone. Hashirama, who had already succeeded as clan leader, rejected Uzumaki Ryu's invitation and stood firm, refusing to join Uzumaki village no matter what benefits Uzumaki Ryu offered. Uzumaki Ryu was furious and berated Hashirama, calling him ungrateful, stubborn, and foolish, and saying he had been blind to have married his daughter to him. It was after that incident that the Uzumaki clan severed its alliance with the Senju clan, planting a seed of resentment in Uzumaki Ryu's heart. Thereafter, whenever Mito and Hashirama returned for holidays, Uzumaki Ryu would treat them with indifference, showing particular affection to Kasauchi. It's different. Hashirama hesitated for a moment, then shook his head. If father-in-law truly wishes to create a peaceful and prosperous era, I am certainly willing to lead my clan to join him. But father-in-law has other motives. Jojuan wasn't the only one who saw through the Whirlpool Dragon's ambition to establish a nation. Jojuan smiled nonchalantly. Brother-in-law, do you think it's impossible to establish a nation? As the saying goes, the daimyo position rotates. Next year it'll be my turn. Since Whirlpool Village already has the foundation to establish a nation, of course we should move forward. Hashirama was taken aback, thinking, what kind of saying is that? I've never heard of it before. Establishing a nation is indeed not a good idea, Hashirama said. The Land of Fire is already suffering from war and hardship. If my father-in-law were to establish a nation at this time, it would only add fuel to the fire of chaos and make the people suffer even more. Jojuan pondered. So that's what my brother-in-law thinks. Then what do you plan to do? Hashirama took a deep breath and slowly revealed his ideal. I also want to establish a village where all ninja clans can live together harmoniously. Since ancient times, every war has been caused by ninjas. If every ninja clan can live in harmony, war will never happen again. This goal is not so easy to achieve. Jojuan neither supported nor opposed it. Does my sister know? Mito knows. She approves of me. Hashirama nodded. His sister is following her husband wherever he goes. Jojuan, to be honest, when I first learned about the establishment of Uzashio village, I particularly admired my father-in-law. I thought he was incredibly wise and benevolent. But what he's doing now is contrary to benevolence and righteousness. Hashirama opened up to Jojuan. I originally had 3 younger brothers. My 4th brother, Senju Kairama, died the earliest. He was only 7 years old when he was ambushed and killed by the Haguramo and Uchiha clans on the battlefield. I was very sad at the time and suggested to my father that he stop the war with the Haguramo and Uchiha clans, because war only brings pain to everyone, but my father scolded me severely, saying that I was having unrealistic dreams. Instead of avenging my brother's death, I was thinking about stopping the war with the enemy. Not long after, my 3rd brother, Senju Itama, was also killed by the Uchiha clan. I was in great pain and extremely confused. I went to a river to think about the meaning of war, and that's where I met Uchiha Madara. We even had a skipping stone competition. As he said this, Hashirama showed a reminiscent expression, clearly indicating that the memory was very precious to him. Jojuan listened very attentively without interrupting. This was the first time he had talked so deeply with his brother-in-law. At first, neither Madara nor I knew each other's identities. We learned about each other's pain. Madara felt that to stop the war, the two sides had to be honest and open with each other. I felt that only by getting all the adults to take our advice could we achieve what Madara meant by making the two sides honest with each other, so Madara and I reached a consensus. To become stronger, we practiced our skills every day. We even had a competition to climb to the top of a mountain by the river. We agreed to build a village there where all the races would unite, and to build a school in the village to protect the children and keep them away from the war. Madara felt that this would better protect his younger brother. Soon after, our whereabouts aroused the suspicion of both our fathers. My father wanted to kill Madara, and Uchiha Tajima wanted to kill me. Madara and I skipped stones at each other to inform each other of our retreat. Our original close friendship was broken as a result. Madara even declared that he would sever his bond with me. Jojuan pretended to suddenly realize, no wonder Madara came to cause trouble when you and my sister got married. So there's such a story between you two, Hashirama said. Whether Madara and I are close friends or enemies, our ideals in establishing this village are the same. We established this village to quell the chaos, not to start a new era of chaos like my father-in-law did, to contend with other nations. Therefore, even if it enrages my father-in-law, I will not lead my clan to join Uzashio village. Jojuan remained silent for a long time after hearing this. He suddenly felt that Hashirama was a very complex person. You could say he was simple-minded, yet sometimes he was very shrewd. You could say he was soft-hearted, yet he could be very decisive in matters of principle. Chapter 106 Another Year of Spring Breeze. No wonder he and Naruto are both reincarnations of Ashura. Their personalities are very similar, both are saintly, Jojuan thought to himself. Indeed, if he had to describe Hashirama, he could only use the word saintly, choosing to sacrifice one's own interests for complete strangers. What else could that be but saintliness? Anyway, Jojuan didn't have Hashirama's benevolence. In this chaotic world, protecting himself and his family was already difficult enough. He couldn't care about others, and no one had ever cared about him. My brother-in-law not joining Uzumaki village has its advantages and disadvantages. At least, those familiar characters from the original story won't disappear, and the various events won't be drastically altered because of my existence. The next day, Ashina and Biwa's wedding was held as scheduled. Compared to Miro's wedding 4 years ago, Ashina's wedding was much more low-key. Uzumaki Ryu didn't make a big fuss and let the whole village know. He only invited some close relatives and friends to witness it. After all, the younger son's wedding would affect the second son's reputation, so it shouldn't be too grand. Uzumaki Ryu didn't say many things aloud, but he understood perfectly well. The Fire Country daimyo, having received word, sent an envoy with lavish gifts to congratulate him. Uzumaki Ryu merely glanced at the gifts, then casually assigned the envoy a corner seat, dismissing him. Judging by this guy's expression, he'll definitely complain to the daimyo about my father when he gets back, Jojuan thought to himself, watching the envoy in the corner of the banquet, who dared not speak out. He wasn't worried about the envoy complaining, because let alone Uzumaki village, the daimyo couldn't even threaten an ordinary medium-sized ninja clan. Uzumaki village now housed half the population of the Fire Country. Any slight disturbance would cause the daimyo sleepless nights. The daimyo must already be regretting his decision to help Uzumaki build the village. Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. This is a universal truth. After the Whirlpool Kingdom is established, we must firmly grasp military power. After half a day of commotion, the wedding concluded successfully, and the guests were all delighted. A wedding without the wedding night pranks just doesn't feel soulful, Jojuan muttered softly. Using his reincarnation ice power, he peered through the window into Ashina's brightly lit bridal chamber. The couple was lifting the red veil and whispering sweet nothings. What followed was something inappropriate for children. Jojuan quickly averted his gaze. For some reason, he suddenly felt melancholy, a melancholy he had never felt before, even when his sister got married. Could it be that I'm not a sister complex, but a brother complex? Jojuan quickly shook his head, banishing the chaotic thoughts from his mind. His feelings for Mito were different from his feelings for Ashina. Mito watched him grow up, while he watched Ashina grow up. In the blink of an eye, the little brat who took the blame for me back then is all married now. I can't treat Ashina like a child anymore. After this reflection, Jojuan, feeling bored, used the reverse summoning technique to go to Shikatsu Forest to deliver wedding candy to the slug sage. Uzumaki Jojuan, you've come, perhaps due to change in her state of mind. Juan found the slug sage quite beautiful this time. 3 days after Ashina's wedding, Mito and Hashirama took Kozu back to the Senju clan's territory. Uzumaki Ryu was still resentful of Hashirama's decision not to join Uzashio village, giving the couple a cold look, but bidding a reluctant farewell to Kozu, telling him to come anytime he missed his grandfather. Upon hearing this, Zio Zongzan immediately clung to the leg of the Whirlpool Dragon, refusing to leave. After all, in Whirlpool Village, he was pampered by his grandfather and received good food. Back home, besides playing in the mud with other children his age, all he got were his mother's beatings. It was obvious where he would be more comfortable. Unfortunately, the decision of whether to stay or leave wasn't something a little kid like him could decide, and he was eventually dragged away by Mito with a dark face. The days that followed returned to peace. Juan led a dozen followers to patrol the security of Whirlpool Village every day, handling the trivial matters of the village. He was leisurely and carefree, occasionally going to the Shikatsu forest to cultivate his relationship with the slug sage, while also developing his reincarnation eye power and practicing the 8 gates body technique. Then, he would disguise himself as a merchant to buy potent medicinal herbs in the Nara clan's territory to strengthen his kidneys. At first, he wasn't used to having another person in the house, but he gradually got used to it. Every day when he came home from get off work, there was a hot meal waiting for him on the table. Pippa always greeted Juan with a smile and spoke softly, which made Juan feel very comfortable, as if he had gained a younger sister. 1 year later, one morning, Pippa, heavily pregnant, knocked on Juan's door and said softly, "Second brother, it's time to get up and eat." Juan mumbled a reply. He had been developing his reincarnation eye power in the Dampone forest until very late last night, and his energy was greatly depleted. At this moment, he only felt very weak in his lower back. "Father has arranged a blind date for you this morning. If you don't get up, you'll be late," Pippa continued to remind him from outside the door. "Okay, I know." Juan opened his eyes with a pained expression, took half a deer antler from under his pillow, chewed it a couple of times, and swallowed it haphazardly. Only then did he feel a little better in his lower back. A blind date. Another blind date. Can't I live without blind dates? He looked bitter and resentful, not knowing who to vent his pent-up anger on. When Ashina first got married, he did have a period of peace and quiet, as Uzumaki Ryu had no time to bother him anymore. Unfortunately, this didn't last long. 6 months later, Biwa became pregnant, and Uzumaki Ryu started arranging Juan's marriage again, even more extravagantly than before, with an average of 3 blind dates waiting for him every day. After 6 months, Juan became a ruthless blind date machine, having arranged blind dates with almost every eligible girl in Uzumaki village. Juan even felt that he was more powerful than the daimyo, having the 3,000 beauties of Uzumaki village to choose from. His rich experience in blind dates had made him a womanizer, and he had seen all kinds of girls, but none of them could catch his eye. Juan had also thought of rebelling, suggesting to Uzumaki Ryu that they separate from the family and move out, trying to escape his control. As a result, he was almost beaten up by his father at the gate of the clan chief's mansion. "I'm not dead yet, and you actually want to separate from the family?" After getting dressed, washing up, and fixing his hair, Juan hurriedly ate a few bites of breakfast, said goodbye to Biwa, and rushed out the door. "Go, second brother," Pippa cheered him on from behind. She'd gone from disbelief at her eccentric second brother to being used to him. Who in their right mind could go on hundreds of blind dates and still not find a partner? Ashina's second brother, however, had managed it. Pippa sincerely hoped Juan could start a family, because if she suggested separating the family then, Uzumaki Ryu would probably agree. Although she hadn't said it aloud this past year, she secretly hoped to move out with Ashina and live a free and independent life together. The location was the same coffee shop. Juan strode across the threshold. The coffee shop waiter knew him very well, giving him a dismissive glance. "Want another free water bottle?" Chapter 107 Four Nation Alliance. "Haha, you understand me best. Go on, go on." After dismissing the waiter, Juan looked around and quickly spotted a red-haired girl sitting alone by the window. Although she was also red-haired, according to the information Juan had gathered, she wasn't a member of the Uzumaki clan. "Sakai Junko, right? I'm Uzumaki Juan. Nice to meet you." Juan sat down opposite the girl, making no attempt to be polite, and extended his hand for a handshake. The girl named Sakai Junko gave his hand a meaningful look but ignored him. "You're late," she said casually, taking a small sip of her coffee, subtly revealing her air of superiority. Jojuan frowned, immediately displeased. "I was only a little late, yet you act so aloof, refusing even to shake my hand. I don't think you're here for a serious blind date." He was adept at reading people. Based on Sakai Junko's initial behavior, he deduced that she was probably a young lady from some wealthy family, thus possessing an inherent pride, much like Hinata Rika back in the day. "But in Wacheo village, even if you're a young lady, can you be more powerful than me?" Jojuan decided to give her a taste of her own medicine. Sakai Junko spoke again. "Jojuan, I've already heard about you from the matchmaker before I came, but seeing is believing, and I have a few questions I want to ask you in person." "Don't ask, all I want to know is that you have a car, a house, and your father is the village chief," Jojuan interrupted arrogantly. Sakai Junko was taken aback, then narrowed her eyes. "You seem very proud," Jojuan retorted matter-of-factly. "My family is so well off, why can't I be proud? But all your pride comes from your village chief father, it has nothing to do with you personally." Jojuan raised an eyebrow. "Are you jealous of me?" Veins throbbed on Sakai Junko's forehead, clearly suppressing her anger. Jojuan continued, "Being born into the right family is a skill. I can't help it if my family is well off. The girls I'm set up with could stretch from Whirlpool Village to the Land of Water, so my time is extremely precious. Let me just say whether you like me or not now. If you do, we can start planning the wedding. If not, I'll move on to the next one." Sakai Junko remained silent for a long time before finally managing to say, "Yes, I like you." This time, it was Jojuan's turn to be stunned. "Are you kidding me? You like me? Something's not right. What do you like about me?" "I like your family's wealth," Sakai Junko said, suppressing her anger. "Based on what you just said, how are we going to plan our wedding?" Jojuan was speechless. At that moment, he suspected he'd been tricked again. Sakai Junko seemed aloof on the surface, but she couldn't escape her materialistic nature. "There's no other way, I'll have to use that trick," Jojuan thought to himself, deciding to use illusion magic to hypnotize her. Although he didn't like girls like Sakai Junko's personality, her performance was commendable and flawless. Therefore, to appease his father, he had no choice but to get her to give up voluntarily. Tap tap tap, Jojuan's fingers tapped lightly on the table, seemingly deep in thought. Sakai Junko subconsciously looked down. A large finger was reflected in her pupils, rising and falling rhythmically, faster and faster. Gradually, Sakai Junko's expression became dazed, her ears deafened, as if the entire world consisted only of that finger. Seeing this, Jojuan felt confident, silently thinking, "Little sister, entering a wealthy family isn't so easy. You should find an honest man to cause trouble for." Release. Suddenly, a low shout rang out. Sakai Junko formed a special incantation to dispel illusions, her eyes regaining clarity. "You actually used illusions on me." Her gaze was icy, fixed on Jojuan. Jojuan was greatly surprised. After years of arduous training and development, his genjutsu skills had reached a considerably high level. Once caught in his spell, even an ordinary Jonin couldn't escape it. How could a girl who had been reduced to an arranged marriage with him possibly break free? "When did you learn genjutsu?" Sakai Junko continued to question him in a deep voice. For some reason, her tone felt strangely familiar to Jojuan, and he felt inexplicably uneasy. At this moment, a Uzumaki clan member rushed in from outside, shouting, "Village chief, something terrible has happened." His sudden shout immediately attracted the attention of everyone in the coffee shop. Jojuan looked at him suspiciously, thinking, "You should be looking for my father at the village chief's building. What are you shouting here for? Wait, what the hell?" Jojuan suddenly realized something extremely terrifying and turned his head in a daze. PFFT, the white mist dissipated. Sakai Junko opposite him deactivated her transformation technique, reverting to her Uzumaki dragon form, glaring at her second son through gritted teeth. Jojuan was completely dumbfounded. At that moment, it felt like a million alpacas were stampeding through his mind. "I actually went on a blind date with my dad this morning," it has to be said. His father's move was incredibly insidious. Jojuan never expected this to happen. He was completely unprepared. His Kagura mind's eye wasn't activated, and both his main Gekkai Sharingan and Tenseigan were sealed, so naturally he couldn't see through the Uzumaki dragon's disguise. "Now I finally understand why your blind dates failed all this time," The Uzumaki dragon's voice was as suppressed as a volcano about to erupt, teetering on the edge of a meltdown. His anger had reached unprecedented heights. For the past few years, he had gone to great lengths to arrange blind dates for his second son, trying to get him married. And what had this unfilial son done? Not only had he deliberately acted badly, but he had also used illusion magic to hypnotize the other party. If he hadn't taken the time to travel incognito today, who knows how much longer he would have been deceived by this unfilial son. Just as the Uzumaki dragon was about to use the Vajra chains to hang Jojuan up and beat him, the Uzumaki clan members who had rushed in earlier saved his life. Village chief, this is a terrible thing, the Uzumaki clansman said anxiously, presenting a letter to Uzumaki Ryu. Just 3 hours ago, the land of wind, the land of lightning, the land of earth, and the land of water simultaneously declared war on the land of fire. The fire daimyo has urgently requested aid from the various ninja clans. What? Uzumaki Ryu's expression changed drastically. He immediately opened the letter and read it, and was even more shocked after reading it. Such a thing. Uzumaki Ryu frowned deeply, unable to believe that such a serious matter had happened so suddenly. A four-nation alliance was unprecedented. Once the war broke out, its scale would be so large that it could even be called the Ninja World War. I'll settle your score with you later. Uzumaki Ryu glared at Jojuan and abruptly stood up and left. With such a major event occurring, he could no longer bother to discipline his son. He had to convene an elders meeting immediately. While Jojuan was relieved to have escaped unscathed, he was also secretly astonished. Before this, I hadn't received a single word of it. How could the four great nations suddenly form an alliance? Something very wrong here. Chapter 108, The First Shinobi World War breaks out. 200 years ago, the daimyo of the five great nations gradually lost control over the various ninja clans within the borders, igniting the chaotic warring states period. Nations fought nations, ninja clans fought ninja clans, and this continued indefinitely. To this day, only the land of wind and the land of earth have regained control over their ninja clans. The other three remain embroiled in internal strife, like scattered sand. This is what Jojuan finds most perplexing. I could believe a two-nation alliance, since the land of wind and the land of earth have unified, and the daimyos will alone can sway the entire nation, ensuring true obedience. But the land of lightning and the land of water are still embroiled in internal strife. Why would they declare war on the land of fire? Jojuan pondered deeply, for there's always a reason behind such an unusual event, attempting to deduce the underlying cause of the four-nation alliance. First of all, the intelligence my father received couldn't be wrong. Even if the daimyo is stupid, he wouldn't joke about something like this. Secondly, the four great nations besieging the land of fire is a clear-cut shinobi world war. The first shinobi world war in the original story only happened after Hashirame's death, which means this part of the plot doesn't exist in the original story. It evolved due to some variable. Having deduced this, Jojuan had a preliminary understanding. If there was anyone who was the biggest variable in the shinobi world, it was undoubtedly himself. Every single thing he had done over the years, whether it was pushing the Uzumaki clan to establish their village ahead of schedule or sealing Black Zetsu, was enough to change the course of the shinobi world. Black Zetsu, his heart skipped a beat. Is it possible that Black Zetsu broke free of the Reaper Death Seal and is hiding behind the scenes, brokering the alliance of the four nations? Jojuan instantly lost his composure, because besides Black Zetsu, he couldn't think of anyone else with the ability to broker an alliance of the four great nations. Over the years, out of hatred for the Uzumaki clan, he had consulted many historical records related to the Reaper Death Seal in the Uzumaki clan's ninjutsu library, gaining a deeper understanding of that Shinigami predecessor. He suspected that the Grim Reaper was likely an ancestor of the Uzumaki clan, who, after death, became an exceptionally powerful spirit in the underworld. The underworld did indeed exist in the ninja world, otherwise, the impure world reincarnation technique wouldn't be possible. Furthermore, when one's strength reached a certain level, one could briefly travel between the realms of the living and the dead. Obito had done it before. The Reaper Death Seal, in essence, was a summoning jutsu, summoning the spirits of the dead to the mortal realm to fight alongside one, sealing the enemy's soul and bringing it back to the underworld. The thought of Black Zetsu's possible escape made Jojuan unable to sit still any longer, and he immediately left a coffee shop. He had completed the initial speculation, now it was time to verify it. Soon, he arrived at a secluded, deserted alley. After scanning his surroundings to confirm no one was around, he used the reverse summoning jutsu, disappearing on the spot with a poof. The next second, he appeared in the dark, damp Shikatsu forest. "Uzumaki Shōsō, you've come!" the slug sage exclaimed in delight. Shōsō hastily greeted her, treating the slug sage with a perfunctory attitude for the first time, before eagerly forming the hand seals for the Reaper Death Seal. However, after he completed the last hand seal, a full 5 minutes passed, and the damp-bone forest remained calm. No eerie winds rose, and the Grim Reaper did not appear. "The Grim Reaper is gone." Shōsō's face was extremely grim. At this point, almost half of his speculation had been confirmed. Although I don't know what happened after the Grim Reaper swallowed Black Zetsu that day, the Grim Reaper simply disappeared. Even the Reaper Death Seal cannot summon him. Shōsō was both troubled and anxious. He had thought that the Reaper Death Seal was the most effective way to seal Black Zetsu, but now it seemed that the so-called Grim Reaper had ultimately failed to overcome Kaguya's will. "You should have said you weren't a match for Kaguya's will earlier. You were drooling like a waterfall back then, insisting on swallowing Black Zetsu, making me think you were some kind of expert." He couldn't help but complain about the Shinigami, feeling that the other party lacked self-awareness. Such a huge ghost, couldn't even distinguish what it could swallow and what it couldn't? "That day I used the Reaper Death Seal to seal Black Zetsu. He probably recognized my Uzumaki clan's identity. The first thing he would do after escaping from the Shinigami's stomach would definitely be to take revenge on the Uzumaki clan. However, Uchiha village is now as powerful as a country, and it is by no means something that can be dealt with by an individual or a few ninja clans. He can only deal with it with the power of a nation. In this way, the motives of the Four Nations Alliance can be explained. On the surface, the Four Nations seem to be besieging the Land of Fire, but in reality, their target is Uchiha village, and me, Uzumaki Shōsō. "What's wrong with you today? You look terrible." At this moment, the slug sage beside him couldn't help but ask out of curiosity. "Senior, something terrible has happened," Shōsō sighed and answered bitterly. "The First Shinobi World War is about to break out." Meanwhile, on the border of the Land of Wind, in the vast desert, tens of thousands of soldiers were densely packed together. Among them was an exceptionally ornately decorated carriage. The daimyo of the Land of Wind, the Land of Earth, the Land of Lightning, and the Land of Water all sat inside. Besides the four daimyo and the personal guards, there was also a strange figure in the carriage. This strange figure was unusually burly, over 3 meters tall, with a black and white body, a blue face, and fangs, like a demon crawling out of hell. "Demon Slayer, our four nations have already declared war on the Land of Fire. When will the 100,000 troops you promised arrive?" the daimyo of the Land of Wind asked the strange figure. The strange figure, however, remained expressionless and motionless, seemingly lost in thought. The four daimyo were surprised. "Demon Slayer, oh, sorry." The strange man suddenly came to his senses, grinning maliciously. "Someone was trying to summon me, and I was distracted." The four daimyo had strange expressions, and the daimyo of the Land of Earth asked curiously, "Who summoned Demon Slayer? Is it related to our plan to besiege the Land of Fire?" The strange man licked his lips with his scarlet tongue. "Just an insignificant brat, not worth mentioning." Although he didn't know how old the masked man was, whether he was old or young, everyone was a brat in his eyes. "What were you saying just now?" The four daimyo exchanged glances, and finally the daimyo of the Land of Wind repeated, "Demon Slayer, now that war is imminent, when will you deliver on your promise of 100,000 troops?" "A small matter, I can deliver right now." The strange man grinned maliciously and reached out to lift the curtain of the carriage. The next moment, the four daimyo saw a scene they would never forget. Countless densely packed white figures crawled out from beneath the yellow sand, a terrifying and awe-inspiring sight like ants passing through. This, the four daimyo were all speechless with shock. "They are my legion," the strange man said proudly, a look of nostalgia on his face. "You can call them White Zetsu. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels." Chapter 109 Demon Slayer. White Zetsu, the daimyo of the Land of Water hesitated. "Demon Slayer, forgive my bluntness, but your White Zetsu army is very similar to the Black Zetsu that caused such a stir in the Land of Fire a few years ago." "Does that matter?" The strange man didn't deny it, only asking calmly. The daimyo of the Land of Water was taken aback, seriously suspecting a close relationship between the other party and Black Zetsu. Indeed, it doesn't matter, the daimyo of the Land of Lightning answered for him, a smile appearing on his face. Each of our 4 nations will send 50,000 troops, plus Demon Slayer's 100,000 troops. The Land of Fire, currently embroiled in internal strife, will absolutely be unable to resist and is destined to be swept away and annihilated by us. The other 3 daimyo nodded thoughtfully upon hearing this. The daimyo of the Land of Lightning was right. Whether Demon Slayer and Black Zetsu were related or not, it was no longer important in the face of the benefits that their 4 nations were about to gain. Next, we will gather all the armies of the 4 nations in the desert and engage in a head-on battle with the Land of Fire, sweeping them away in one fell swoop, the strange man said. Why a direct confrontation? Wouldn't it be better to divide our forces into 5 groups and besiege the Land of Fire? The Land of Earth's daimyo objected. The strange man glanced at him and calmly said, a direct confrontation is necessary. This is my bottom line. Otherwise, I will not participate in this war. The 4 daimyo were speechless, unable to understand his intentions. The strange man hadn't told them that only a direct confrontation could lure out the masked man. If they divided their forces, who knew where the masked man would appear? His purpose in instigating the First Shinobi World War had always been singular, to force out the masked man. That's right, the strange man's true identity was Black Zetsu, Demon Slayer was merely his alias. He knew that Black Zetsu's reputation had been completely ruined by the masked man. If he had initially used the Black Zetsu name to negotiate with the 4 daimyo, it would only have made them extremely wary and distrustful of him. And his alias Demon Slayer wasn't chosen without reason, he had truly slain a demon. The souls of the dead in the underworld lacked the power to seal Kaguya's will. The Grim Reaper's end was tragic. He only imprisoned Black Zetsu for 3 years before Black Zetsu ripped out his heart, possessing not only his body but also his demonic power. Black Zetsu's current black and white, blue-faced, fanged appearance is the result of his fusion with the Grim Reaper. Joshwan's deductions were almost identical to the actual situation. Black Zetsu had confirmed his identity as a member of the Uzumaki clan. After escaping, he vowed to annihilate the Uzumaki clan to avenge himself. Even disregarding the masked man's influence, Black Zetsu was determined to destroy the Uzumaki clan. The reason was simple, their sealing techniques were terrifying, a true threat to him. However, the Uzumaki clan was not like the Hyuga clan, they couldn't be dealt with by a few ninja clans. Black Zetsu broadened his scope, considering annihilating the Land of Fire as well. Thus, he adopted the alias Demon Slayer and sought alliances with the 4 great nations. In Black Zetsu's eyes, the rise and fall of a nation meant nothing. He had lived for nearly 1,000 years, witnessing countless dynasties rise and fall, and had done his part in destroying a nation to achieve his goals before. The process of forming an alliance with the 4 great nations went quite smoothly. Black Zetsu first approached the daimyo of the Land of Wind, telling him that the masked man who killed Shukaku 4 years ago came from the Land of Fire. The daimyo of the Land of Fire had instructed him to prevent the Land of Winds from sealing Shukaku, intending to have Shukaku limit the development of the Land of Winds for generations. The daimyo of the Land of Winds sent people to the Land of Fire to investigate and learn that the masked man had helped the Hyuga clan, confirming his origins in the Land of Fire. As expected, this successfully stirred up hatred. The Land of Wind and the Land of Fire shared a border, and the 2 countries had been in constant conflict for many years. Now, with new and old grudges combined, and Black Zetsu's promise of a 100,000-strong army inciting and provoking, the daimyo of the Land of Wind could no longer hold back and decisively agreed to declare war on the Land of Fire. Black Zetsu then approached the daimyo of the Land of Water and the Land of Lightning, who were embroiled in internal strife, and taught them how to regain control over their respective ninja clans. His method was to implement a system of appanage, distributing conquered territory to various ninja clans and using imperial techniques to weigh the gains. This would resolve the internal conflicts and ensure the ninja clans were grateful to the daimyo. Currently, the only territory they could conquer was the Land of Fire. He had already assembled an army of 100,000 and allied with the Land of Wind. If the 2 countries joined, they would crush the Land of Fire. If they didn't, they would miss the golden opportunity to control their own ninja clans. The daimyo of the Land of Water and the Land of Lightning were deeply moved by Black Zetsu's words. After much deliberation, they finally agreed. Following Black Zetsu's instructions, they summoned the clan leaders and announced that their countries would go to war with the Land of Fire. They stated that every conquered territory would be distributed among the clans according to their contributions, with a first-come, first-served basis. This move effectively united the clans, and the clan leaders once again submitted to the daimyo, willing to obey his commands. Black Zetsu had expended considerable effort persuading the land of wind, water, and lightning, but persuading the land of earth was much easier. He simply told the land of earth's daimyo, "I'm assembling an army of 100,000 to ally with the wind, water, and lightning to attack the land of fire. Do you want a share? If so, hop on board." Victory is assured. The land of earth's daimyo was immediately tempted. There was no reason not to share. Thus, Black Zetsu had cleverly integrated the four-nation alliance, essentially getting something for nothing. At this point, even without White Zetsu's army, the four nations couldn't dissolve their alliance. When the nest is overturned, no egg remains unbroken. Masked hero, let's see how you respond to this move, Black Zetsu thought fiercely. Destroying the land of fire would also destroy Uzushio village. The masked hero was indeed unfathomable, but even if he was strong alone, could he possibly defeat the four-nation alliance? You're far from being a match for me, Black Zetsu. Go live for 1,000 years first. Black Zetsu was full of confidence. This time, he had used every means at his disposal to deal with the masked warrior, far surpassing the small-scale skirmishes against the Hyuga clan. He was absolutely certain of not failing again. By the time Jojuan returned from Shikatsu Forest, the elders' meeting of Uzumaki village was almost over. Due to the urgency of the situation, the various ninja clans didn't have much time to react. The theme that Uzumaki Ryu had decided on was one word: fight. Uzumaki village had to participate in the war and help the land of fire defeat the Four Nations Alliance. The Four Nations Alliance was the biggest crisis the land of fire had faced since its founding. It was conceivable that if the land of fire fell, all the ninja clans within its borders would be wiped out by the ninja clans of the Four Nations. No ninja clan would escape unscathed, and the powerful Uzumaki clan would be the first to bear the brunt. That noon, Uzumaki Ryu spread the news that the land of fire was under siege, and the entire Uzumaki village was put into a state of war. All ninjas of the Sharingan level or above, whether they were Uzumaki clan members or civilians, had to participate in the war, except for pregnant women. In addition, 80,000 young men were conscripted into the army. Chapter 110 The Expedition. That evening, Uzumaki Ryu, accompanied by two elders, traveled to the capital of the land of fire to attend the clan leaders' meeting convened by the daimyo. Jojuan, of course, wasn't qualified to participate in the meeting, but he secretly used his Tenseigan to spy on it. Nothing he wanted to see could escape his notice. The Tenseigan's vision range far exceeded that of the ordinary Byakugan. Almost every ninja clan within the land of fire attended this meeting, regardless of whether they were major or minor clans. Even Kirima, whose clan had been forced into seclusion years before being defeated by the Hyuga and Sarutobi, had emerged from seclusion. The daimyo had nothing else to say but repeatedly plead for the clan's help, saying that the land of fire faced a life-or-death crisis, and only through unity could they overcome it. They were all in the same boat, their fates intertwined. The clan leaders weren't fools. They understood the daimyo's meaning and pledged their full support to the war effort. Rest assured, Lord Daimyo, even if I die on the battlefield, I will never allow the Four-Nation Alliance to invade the land of fire. Hashirama, abandoning his usual simple-minded demeanor, declared resolutely, a surge of passionate heroism erupting from him. Uzumaki Ryu glared at him displeased, thinking his cheap son-in-law was just recklessly boasting, simple-minded. You said you'd die in battle, but did you even consider Mito, Saojin, or your clan? Uzumaki Ryu wasn't as foolish as Hashirama. He wouldn't put all his eggs in one basket. He had already considered the worst-case scenario. If the land of fire truly couldn't withstand the Four-Nation Alliance, he would lead a portion of his clan into seclusion in the mountains. Clan Chief Hashirama is so generous and righteous. On behalf of the million people of the land of fire, I thank Clan Chief Hashirama. The daimyo bowed gratefully, greatly comforted by Hashirama's words. Just a mere Four-Nation Alliance. If they dare come, just wipe them out, Uchiha Madara said arrogantly. Clan Chief Madara is truly exuding an aura of dominance, the daimyo awkwardly praised. Jojuan, who was secretly eavesdropping on the meeting, couldn't help but want to retort, thinking that Madara's "I'm the best in the world" attitude had never changed. If it were the Six Paths Madara of later generations, he could indeed single-handedly sweep through the Four-Nation Alliance, But Madara hadn't even obtained the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan yet, so it was hard to understand where he got the confidence to say such things. For some reason, the Four-Nation Alliance isn't attacking from multiple directions. The armies of the Water, Lightning, and Earth nations have gone to great lengths to gather in the desert of the Wind Country. This behavior is very abnormal. It seems they want to concentrate all their forces for a head-on battle with us, the daimyo continued. I have already dispatched an army of 50,000 to Yanmen Pass on the border of the Fire Country. I request that all clan chiefs return and lead their people to Yanmen Pass as soon as possible to reinforce us. A decisive battle at Yanmen Pass, huh? Zhou mused thoughtfully. He was 90% certain that Black Zetsu was behind this war. The reason the Four Nations forces were gathered in one place was probably to force him out. Black Zetsu, you really don't learn your lesson. 4 years ago, to force me out. You put the Hyuga clan in dire straits. Today, to force me out, you've put the Land of Fire in dire straits. Your schemes are clever, but do you really think the Masked Man is the same Masked Man from 4 years ago? Zhou had already figured out how to deal with Black Zetsu's attack. This time, he was determined to make a clean break with Black Zetsu. He wanted to know who in the world could stop him when he had the Tenseigan Chakra mode, Sage mode, and the 8 gates all open. What could possibly stop him? Hashirama, sit down. I wasn't talking to you. Not long after, the clan leaders' meeting ended, and the clan leaders went back to mobilize their troops, leading their clansmen to Yanmen Pass for reinforcements as instructed by the daimyo. The number of people sent to the battle from Uchiha village was enormous, with over 10,000 ninja of Sharingan rank and above, plus an army of 80,000 ordinary civilians, wiping out a quarter of the village's total population. This decisive battle concerned the survival of Uchiha village, so Uzumaki Ryu spared no effort in recruiting as many soldiers as possible. It took him 3 full days to complete the recruitment process. Before the army even moved, he sent the supply convoy towards Yanmen Pass. On the night before the expedition, almost every household in Uchiha village packed their belongings, the atmosphere somber. The clan head's mansion was no exception. Uzumaki Ryu stipulated that all ninja of Sharingan rank and above must participate in the battle, and his 2 sons met the requirement. As for Uzumaki Biwa, she was 8 months pregnant and could give birth at any time, so she was exempt from the battle. Ashina, remember to be careful on the battlefield. Don't be reckless, and come back safe and sound, Biwa said, carefully packing her husband's belongings, displaying the qualities of a virtuous wife and loving mother, her words filled with worry. Ashina laughed heartily. Don't worry about me. I've been a fierce warrior since I was a child, slaying countless enemies and achieving countless victories. No matter how powerful the enemy, I've never been defeated. Zhou, who was packing in the next room, rolled his eyes, thinking, look at you, so confident. Never been defeated? If it weren't for my second brother secretly protecting you, you'd probably be long gone, buried somewhere. Then he heard Ashina say, Biwa, just wait for me at home. Our child should be born around the time the war ends, and I'll personally give him a grand name. Zhou sensed something was wrong. His brother's words sounded like he was setting a flag. People who say things like that on TV usually don't come back. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept in from behind. Zhou could have dodged, but there was no need. He was kicked and landed on the bed. Father, he turned to the whirlpool dragon behind him, looking distressed. At a time like this, don't hold a grudge against me about the arranged marriage. The whirlpool dragon interrupted him sternly. This time is different from before. The brutality of the battlefield will exceed your imagination. Be careful, stay close to your brother, he will protect you. 18-year-old Ashina had already become an excellent elite Chunin, no less capable than Miro in his prime. Zhou felt a warmth in his heart and smiled. Yes, father, don't worry. With my strength, I should be able to protect myself. He was joking. He was prepared to open the 8 gates and cleave through thousands of troops on the battlefield. The whirlpool dragon stared at him for a long time, seemingly wanting to take one last good look at his disappointing son, and said in a deep voice, you must live. You cannot die. Zhou froze. Only after the whirlpool dragon had turned and left for a long time did Zhou rub his backside with a wry smile. A father's love is either subtle and gentle, or as heavy as a landslide. Of course I will live. With so many Sharingan with 3 Tomo, to put it bluntly, it would be difficult for me to die even if I wanted to. The next morning, Uzumaki Ryu personally led an army of 100,000 to set off for Yanmen Pass, and hundreds of thousands of old people, Women and children watched him go from the village entrance. Chapter 111 Let romantic feelings take a backseat. Among the ninja clans of the Land of Fire, the Uzumaki clan was the last to arrive at Yanmen Pass. Before this, some ninja clans couldn't help but whisper among themselves, wondering if the Uzumaki clan's forces might be cowardly, intimidated by the name of the Four-Nation Alliance, and perhaps even fleeing without a fight. However, the moment the 100,000-strong army arrived at Yanmen Pass, all discordant voices vanished. Every ninja clan felt a profound shock. That was an army of 100,000. The mere Uzumaki clan could mobilize such a terrifying force of 100,000, and more than 10,000 of them were ninjas. Even the daimyo himself, the highest leader of the Land of Fire, could only muster an army of slightly over 70,000, mostly ordinary people with a small number of samurai and ninjas. Even with all the resources of the major ninja clans combined, the total number of ninjas reached only slightly over 10,000. In other words, the force dispatched by the Uzumaki clan alone was equivalent to the combined forces of the Land of Fire and all the other ninja clans. Clan Chief, the strength of your Uzumaki clan is astonishing, Sarutobi Sasuke praised with a smile. None of us expected you to be able to mobilize so many people. All the ninjas of all our clans combined don't even come close to the number of the Uzumaki clan, Hyuga 10 inside. With my father-in-law joining us, our chances of victory have greatly increased. These were the words of the simple-minded Hashirama. The other ninja clans echoed his sentiments, their words filled with utmost respect for the Uzumaki Dragon clan. Even the proud Uchiha Madara couldn't help but be moved. Of the 5 great ninja clans of the Land of Fire, the Uchiha, Senju, Hyuga, and Sarutobi clans had all had their clan leaders succeeded by the younger generation. Only the old clan leader of the Uzumaki clan had not abdicated. Therefore, from both a seniority and strength perspective, the Uzumaki Dragon clan deserved everyone's respect. The Uzumaki Dragon clan had considered abdicating, but his eldest daughter had married, his second son was not up to par, and his youngest son was too young and needed several more years of training. He could only postpone his abdication. The people I brought are from Uzashio village, not part of the Uzumaki clan. The Uzumaki clan is merely a part of Uzashio village, Uzumaki Ryu said, displaying appropriate humility without being overly boastful. The clan leaders all wore knowing expressions. No one took Uzumaki Ryu's modesty seriously. They knew perfectly well that Uzashio village was the Uzumaki clan, and the Uzumaki clan was Uzashio village. The two were synonymous. Previously, the Uzumaki clan, as a neutral third-party force, remained aloof, not interfering in any ninja clan conflicts. Everyone knew their foundation was deep, but they never understood just how deep until today, realizing just how terrifying the Uzumaki clan truly was. Many ninja clans were thankful they hadn't antagonized the Uzumaki clan before. The Uzumaki's only nemesis, the Kaguya clan, had been reduced to exile overseas, and now it seemed likely they were completely wiped out. Now that clan leader Ryu is here, let's hold a meeting and formulate a strategic plan, the neglected daimyo said. He felt a deep resentment, believing that Uzumaki Ryu had stolen his nation's power. The ninja army of Uzumaki village should have been under his command. Alright, the clan chiefs nodded in agreement. They understood the daimyo's meaning, to elect a leader to coordinate the various forces. Their biggest problem was the dispersed nature of their troops, composed of hundreds of ninja clans of varying sizes. Internal discord was the worst thing in warfare, and to avoid becoming a disorganized mob, they needed to elect a leader to command all the clans. The election, ostensibly for strategic planning, then began, conducted by vote. Many clan chiefs wanted to be the leader, especially Uzumaki Ryu. After all, the number of people from his Uzumaki village participating in the war was greater than the entire Land of Fire. Who else could be the leader if not him? However, the final election results left him extremely displeased. The daimyo received the most votes. Almost every clan chief voted for him, while very few voted for Uzumaki Ryu. Accept your fate, father. The tallest tree in the forest catches the most wind, Jojuan silently comforted Uzumaki Dragon amidst the crowd. Human hearts are the most complex thing. On the surface, the clan leaders seemed 10 times more respectful to Uzumaki Dragon than to the daimyo, but in reality, they were more wary of him. Therefore, they were ruthless in their voting. Suddenly, Jojuan sensed a gaze fixed on him. Black Zetsu. His heart tightened, and he abruptly turned his head. A long-legged Uchiha girl came into his view. She met his gaze silently for a moment, then casually looked away. Who is this person? She seems familiar. Jojuan pondered for a long time, then quickly remembered the long-legged girl's identity, Uchiha Tano. Years ago, when Uchiha Madara led his clan to intercept a bride, Jojuan had severely injured her using a combination of Sexijutsu and Kuromatsu Kami. After all this time, are you still holding a grudge against me because of what happened back then? Jojuan roughly guessed Uchiha Tano's motive for targeting him, but he didn't take it seriously. A Uchiha girl who hadn't awakened her main Gekkai Sharingan wasn't worthy of his attention. Tano-senpai, what are you looking at? Izuna asked curiously beside Uchiha Tano. Nothing, Tano shook her head nonchalantly. A strange look appeared on Izuna's face. He didn't know when it started, but Tano's attitude towards him had become increasingly cold. Sometimes she wouldn't even bother to speak, and she no longer sparred with him. This made Izuna very uncomfortable, but there was nothing he could do. The next moment, Izuna followed Tano's gaze and locked onto a red-haired Uzumaki clan member. It's him, Izuna suddenly realized, recognizing at a glance that the other party was the kid who had severely injured Tano with dirty ninjutsu back then. Does Senior Tano want to kill him to avenge himself? Many things had happened over the years. First, the Uchiha clan went into seclusion, then the Uzumaki clan became a neutral force, causing Izuna to forget Jojuan for a time. Now, those memories resurfaced. If I help Senior Tano kill him, perhaps I can restore Senior Tano's goodwill towards me, Izuna silently pondered, having made up his mind. Jojuan was completely unaware that he had suddenly gained an enemy. At this moment, he sensed another gaze. Is Hyuga Rika still harboring feelings for me? Jojuan secretly observed Hyuga Rika, who was watching him, and his feelings were extremely complicated. He didn't understand why Hyuga Rika was so persistent towards him. Logically speaking, they hadn't had much contact. Only meeting once in Uzashio village, and so many years had passed. Was she really just after his good looks? A complete looks-obsessed person? But the problem was, if you were so infatuated with me, why didn't Hyuga Tenjin, before his death, ask Hyuga Tenin to come to Uzashio village to propose marriage? Jojuan couldn't figure it out, so he simply stopped thinking about it. He was going to the battlefield to fight Black Zetsu head-on, so he had to put aside all thoughts of romance. Besides, he had never had any feelings for Hinata Rika anyway. Chapter 112 A Restless Night. The daimyo, having been elected as the leader by the various clan chiefs, felt no joy. He knew his position was hollow. If he issued overly forceful orders, the ninja clans would still disobey, and he would be powerless to stop them. Compared to his ancestors who truly commanded the 100 clans, his position as daimyo was utterly pathetic. The combined forces of the 4 great nations will undoubtedly surpass ours in strength. Therefore, our best course of action is to hold Yamen Pass, the daimyo declared, outlining his strategy. The armies of the water, lightning, and earth nations have all taken a long detour to the land of wind to assemble. Their supply lines will be severely hampered, unlike our ability to fight on our home ground. Therefore, we only need to hold Yamen Pass and wage a war of attrition. Eventually, they will retreat due to supply problems. The daimyo's words were perfectly reasonable and received unanimous approval from the clan chiefs. Indeed, defending the city was the best course of action, allowing them to defeat a stronger enemy with a weaker force. The daimyo then assigned defensive orders to the ninja clans, assigning each clan a specific area to defend. The Uzumaki clan, being the most powerful, was tasked with guarding the main gate, which would bear the brunt of the attack once the siege began. Uzumaki Ryu had no objections, relieving the daimyo. As the group prepared to disperse to their assigned areas, the daimyo glanced at the guards around Uzumaki Ryu and suddenly asked meaningfully, "Clan Chief Ryu, isn't your clansman Uzumaki Naruto here?" Uzumaki Ryu was surprised, not understanding why the daimyo asked this. He had never heard of any clansman named Uzumaki Naruto. "He should be here," Uzumaki Ryu replied thoughtfully. "Did the daimyo need him for something?" "No, I just suddenly remembered he's quite a talent." "How?" The daimyo sneered and turned to leave. He was filled with resentment. If it weren't for Uzumaki Naruto's silver tongue, would he have so readily offered aid to the Uzumaki clan? And without his aid, how could the Uzumaki clan have developed so smoothly? Uzumaki Ryu was filled with doubt and suspicion. He thought that since Naruto Uzumaki was mentioned by the daimyo, he must be a capable person. He would have to inquire about him within his clan later. The original inhabitants of Yamen Pass had known for days that it would become the battlefield between the Land of Fire and the 4 great nations, and had long since fled with their families. Therefore, The city was now extremely desolate. Apart from soldiers and ninjas, not a single civilian could be seen. The vacant houses were naturally occupied by the army. Joe quickly seized a small house and occupied it alone. He was wary and had never liked sleeping with others, not even his own younger brother Ashina. This was similar to Xiao. He wouldn't allow anyone else to sleep soundly beside him, except for another man's wife. The first day at Yanmen Pass was peaceful. The armies of the four nations were still waiting to assemble in the desert and had not yet launched an attack. That night, Zhou Xuan set up a small protective barrier inside the house, stuffed a piece of deer antler into his mouth to enhance his virility and kidneys, and silently developed his eye power by releasing the seal on his Tenseigan. With his duel with Black Zetsu imminent, even last-minute preparations could be effective. He continued developing his eye power until late into the night, when all was quiet. Knock knock. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Zhou Xuan frowned. Who would be calling him in the middle of the night? He resealed his Tenseigan, released the barrier inside the house, and cautiously went to open the door. It's you. Upon seeing who it was, Zhou Xuan was first surprised, then wary. Standing outside was a tall, long-legged Uchiha girl. He wasn't sure if it was his imagination, but he thought he saw a hint of joy on her face, which she quickly concealed. Uzumaki Zhou Xuan, do you remember me? Doi asked. Zhou Xuan nodded. Of course I remember. That's good. Doi's face regained its earlier joy. Zhou Xuan took a step back without changing his expression and said in a deep voice, Lord Doi, we were enemies back then, which is why I used methods to hurt you. Now we are allies, so please don't hold grudges about the past. Many members of the Uzumaki clan are currently stationed nearby. Doi smiled calmly and said, Don't worry, I'm not here to cause you trouble. Then why? Doi paused slightly before revealing his intention. The four-nation alliance is coming with overwhelming force. Yanmen Pass won't hold for long. Once the city falls, the Fire Kingdom is destined to perish. You should leave yourself a way out, and I'll leave myself a way out too. The day the city falls, you'll return here, and I'll lead you out of the encirclement so we can elope together. Zhou Xuan was stunned for a moment, incredulous. You want to elope with me? Yes, Doi nodded in agreement. Zhou Xuan was bewildered. He wanted to ask her, Sister, what happened between us? I only remember stabbing you with a kunai. Could it be that you fall for whoever stabs you? Zhou Xuan hesitated, then finally nodded after a long pause. Okay, if the city falls, I'll come back here. If it doesn't, then forget it. Duoya gave him a deep look and said firmly, the city will definitely fall. Then she didn't say anything more and turned to leave. Zhou Xuan stood there in a daze for a moment, and only after she had gone far away did he touch his nose, puzzled. Uchiha clan members, they're all so strange. He closed the door, doubting his own charm for the first time. Could it be that he was very popular with girls, that he could attract so many girls just with his handsome face? Lost in thought, just as he lay down on the bed, there was another knock on the door. Back again, Zhou Xuan wondered, deciding to have a good talk with her. Opening the door, the Uchiha girl had become a Hyuga girl. Uzumaki Zhou Xuan, do you remember me? Hyuga Rika asked, her two eyes shining brightly, beautiful like jewels. Zhou Xuan took a deep breath, not understanding what was wrong with him tonight. Did the god of love send me a love tribulation because I've been single for too long? My memory isn't that bad. Of course I remember Rika, he said. At least you have some conscience. Rika Hinata chuckled with delight. Zhou Xuan, he really wanted to ask, little sister, what's with this natural flirting tone? You were the one who forcibly kissed me back then. I didn't do anything wrong. Soon, Rika Hinata's face returned to seriousness, and she said solemnly, I came here tonight only to tell you one thing. The Land of Fire is doomed to lose this war. No one can save the Land of Fire from destruction. My brother has already prepared an escape route. Once Yanmen Pass falls, he will lead some of his clansmen to live in seclusion in the mountains. I don't want you to die. Don't panic on the day the city falls. Just come back here, and I'll lead you out of the encirclement, and we'll live in seclusion together. Zhou Xuan now suspected that Rika Hinata and Uchiha Tano had the same script. Even their lines were almost identical. Did you remember what I just said? Yes. Chapter 113, the final battle begins. But what if Yanmen Pass can't be breached, and the four-nation alliance is repelled? Zhou Xuan countered. Hyuga Rika was silent for a moment, then calmly said, if the four-nation alliance is repelled, just pretend I wasn't here tonight, but you must understand, The destruction of the Land of Fire is a foregone conclusion, there's no suspense. Leaving these words behind, Hyuga turned and left. It seems everyone has lost hope in this war, Jojuan thought to himself. Even the two major clans, Uchiha and Hyuga, are making plans for retreat. One can imagine the mentality of the other smaller ninja clans. If no unexpected events occur, the Land of Fire is truly doomed. The reason everyone is so pessimistic is because they haven't witnessed Hashirama's true strength. If they knew how strong Hashirama was, they would think the Land of Fire could still be saved. Since Hashirama became the Senju clan leader, he has always maintained a low profile, never displaying his strength in public. This has led to the public's impression of him remaining from 5 or 6 years ago, when he was merely one of the 7 heroes of the Warring States period, and clan leaders like Hyuga Tenin and Sarutobi Sasuke were considered as equals. Only Jojuan truly understood how terrifying Hashirama was at his peak, wielding Sage Mode. A single topple Buddha technique could destroy the heavens and earth. He could easily subdue the Nine Tails with a single hand, telling it was too strong and needed to be sealed away. The Nine Tails stared blankly at his 999 free hands. Even without my intervention, Hashirama alone could suppress the Four Nations Alliance. One man against 10,000. The Uchiha and Hyuga's worries are unnecessary. Thinking this, Jojuan closed the door. He didn't lie back down on the bed but sat at the table, pouring himself a cup of hot goji berry tea. He wanted to see if any girls would try to elope with him tonight, otherwise, he wouldn't realize he was so sought after in this life or death situation. A few minutes later, knock knock, the knocking sounded again. Really? Jojuan quickly opened the door. Sister, Jojuan stared at Mito outside the door, momentarily stunned, and asked, "You're here to elope with me too? What nonsense are you spouting?" Mito snapped, giving him a light tap on the forehead. Jojuan rubbed his forehead and took 2 steps back, feeling a little aggrieved. He felt his sister was like a powder keg tonight. "Come in and tell me what's wrong." Mito entered the room, casually glancing around before her gaze lingered on the goji berry water on the table for a moment. Then, she spoke seriously, "I'll get straight to the point, Jojuan. The Fire Country will definitely lose this time against a Four-Nation alliance." Wait a minute, this line sounds so familiar. Should she be arranging a retreat and going into seclusion next? "Father and I have prepared an escape route," Mito continued. "Once Yamen Pass falls, we will lead the Uzumaki and Senju clans to retreat to the mountains. On the day the city falls, don't wander off anywhere. Just come back here. I'll fight our way out and rejoin the main force, understand?" "Understood, sister." "Does brother-in-law know about your and father's plans?" Jojuan couldn't help but ask. "Your brother-in-law is such a blockhead," Mito suddenly snapped. He didn't agree to leave an escape route at first, and actually wanted to lead his clansmen to their deaths. This seemed like something only Hashirama would do. Jojuan understood why her sister had smacked him on the head the moment they met. Mito, later, after being persuaded by Tobirama and me, he reluctantly agreed, but he said he would fight with all his might. If he really couldn't save the Land of Fire, then he would retreat to the mountains with his clansmen. Brother-in-law is so strong, perhaps he really can save the Land of Fire. Jojuan offered a fair assessment. Mito glared at him, annoyed. "Why are you being so foolish? Your brother-in-law isn't the reincarnation of the Sage of Six Paths. Even if he's strong, can he withstand several clan leaders from the 4 great nations?" Jojuan stammered, knowing his sister was in a bad mood, and wisely refrained from arguing. "Sister's right. Brother-in-law is just too inflexible. It's fortunate you have her to help him devise a plan." Mito calmed down considerably upon hearing this. Afterward, she gave Jojuan a few more instructions before leaving. Sure enough, everyone's so cunning. They've all planned their escape routes, not a single one is honest, Jojuan thought to himself. The Land of Fire only has 6 major clans, and he knew of at least 5 of them were about to flee. The Sarutobi clan was likely to follow suit, not to mention the other smaller ninja clans. Suddenly, a scene of carnage flashed through Jojuan's mind. Not long after, Yamen Pass truly fell. Jojuan returned to the house, where 3 women, Uchiha Tenno, Hyuga, and Uzumaki Mito, were fiercely fighting over him. A torrential downpour poured from the sky, resembling a scene from the classic film The Forbidden City. Jojuan screamed at the 3 women, "Stop! Stop fighting!" He shuddered, quickly banishing the chaotic scene from his mind. He was joking, with him and Hashirama joining forces, unless those lunatics on the moon went mad. or Kagu-I returned to the world, no one could destroy the Land of Fire. After that night, 10 more days of peace followed. During these 10 days, all the clans were on high alert, rigorously guarding every area of Yamen Pass. As the days passed, more and more armies from the 4 nations converged in the desert, and the atmosphere at Yamen Pass grew increasingly tense and oppressive. In the first few days, the ninjas still had time to chat during their leisure time, but later, everyone's face was grave. Jojuan remained unaffected by others, maintaining an unusually positive attitude. He ate and drank as usual, consuming large amounts of nourishing and aphrodisiac herbs to conserve his energy for the upcoming battle. It's worth noting that since that turbulent night, the Uchiha and Hyuga girls hadn't come looking for him again, presumably waiting for the fall of Yamen Pass to elope with him. 10 days later, at noon, the decisive battle finally arrived. The armies of the 4 nations were fully assembled and surged towards Yamen Pass in a mighty, overwhelming force. So many people, the ninja clans on the city walls were shocked and terrified. From their perspective, a dark, overwhelming army surged forward, stretching as far as the eye could see. Yamen Pass seemed like a mantis trying to stop a chariot before this army. How many troops have the 4 nations sent? Can we really hold Yamen Pass? A ninja's voice trembled involuntarily. Jojuan took a deep breath. From the position of the Uzumaki clan guard in the main gate of the city, he could see the overwhelming power of the 4 nation allied forces even more directly. It's getting ominous, like dark clouds looming over the city, threatening to crush it. I wonder where Black Zetsu is hiding. Suddenly, Jojuan paused for a moment, then regained his composure. He had spotted White Zetsu among the armies of the 4 nations, and there were quite a few of them. What are those things? They look just like that scoundrel Black Zetsu. Some sharp-eyed ninjas also noticed the White Zetsu. Chapter 114 You are not worthy of being called great names. The Uchiha and Hyuga clansmen instantly went on alert. Their 2 clans harbored the deepest hatred for Black Zetsu, and they immediately recognized that the White Zetsu below, aside from their color, looked exactly like Black Zetsu. Could Black Zetsu be mass-produced? Damn it, Black Zetsu really is a foreign ninja. Uchiha Madara gritted his teeth, his eyes instantly transforming into kaleidoscope shapes due to extreme rage. Rumors had circulated for years that Black Zetsu came from abroad, deliberately coming to the Land of Fire to stir up trouble. Now, the rumors were clearly confirmed. Jojuan glanced at Madara without showing any emotion. For the past few years, he had harbored the idea of fusing the Rinnegan, and as time passed, the idea had matured, but he needed Madara's cooperation. After defeating the 4 Nations alliance, he wanted to have a deeper discussion with Madara. The 4 Nations army marched at an extremely fast and unstoppable speed, advancing to the sandy ground several hundred meters from Yamen Pass before stopping. A chilling aura permeated the air, making it difficult to breathe. Gazing at the enemy army, far outnumbering his own, the Fire Country daimyo felt a deep sorrow and desolation. He had considered the possibility of being replaced by another ninja clan within his own country, but he never imagined he would be defeated by another nation. Wind, earth, lightning, and water, the Fire Country, have never committed any heinous acts. What right do you have to unite and attack me? The daimyo, holding a megaphone, shouted angrily at the army not far away. He couldn't use ninjutsu, so he relied on technology to amplify his voice. In the army, the Wind Country daimyo also pulled out a megaphone and coldly replied, "You know perfectly well what you've done." Pretending to be ignorant won't help. He was referring to the masked man's killing of Shukaku. The Fire Country daimyo roared, "Just tell me what I've done." Stop beating around the bush. The Wind Country daimyo, however, put down his megaphone and stopped responding. There was no need. His initial purpose in declaring war on the Land of Fire was to avenge the masked man from years ago. However, as things have evolved, the objective has become dividing up the Land of Fire's interests. Whether the masked man was acting on the orders of the Land of Fire's daimyo is no longer important. Land of Fire's daimyo, your side has no chance of winning this battle. I advise you to obediently surrender the city. That way, I can guarantee you a comfortable life. Refusing to resist will only lead to your demise. The Land of Lightning's daimyo used the megaphone to urge surrender. The Land of Fire's daimyo resolutely replied, "Wishful thinking. Even if I die on the battlefield, riddled with arrows, I will never bow down to you." HMPH, courting death. While the 2 weak daimyo were exchanging barbs, he maneuvered to corner, leaving a shadow clone behind. His main body then used the rock concealment technique to silently disappear beneath the city gate. Tenseigan, activate. Jojuan released the seal, and his right eye instantly manifested as a deep, dark blue sapphire. A vast amount of energy was then drawn into his body, automatically activating the Tenseigan chakra mode. Deep green chakra dissipated onto his body, condensing into a sage cloak, while simultaneously splitting into gauze covering his face. Sage mode, activate. 2 dark eye shadows appeared around his eye sockets, and the chakra within his body transformed into a higher-level energy form of Sage Chakra. Kagura's mind's eye, activate. In the darkness, a pair of invisible, intangible eyes suddenly opened, instantly covering a radius of 20 kilometers, providing real-time monitoring from a godlike perspective. With the 2 modes combined, not only was the range of Kagura's mind's eye greatly increased, but his reconnaissance capabilities were also significantly enhanced. Jojuan keenly sensed the chakra fluctuations of everyone present. Black Zetsu, you must be hiding somewhere. While you were trying so hard to force me out, I was also eager to find you. This time, I won't give you any chance. I won't be able to eat or sleep until I've completely eliminated you. Kagura's mind's eye scanned the 4 armies inch by inch, like a radar. Meanwhile, on the walls of Yamen Pass, the 2 weak daimyo were still exchanging barbs. Hashirama, unable to contain himself, stepped forward and stood beside the daimyo, saying in a deep voice, "Gentlemen, please hear me out. You 4 are all daimyo of a nation. Your primary task should be to ensure the prosperity and well-being of your people. Launching wars against other nations without cause will only increase the suffering of your people, causing them to resent and complain. It is truly an act that incurs the wrath of both heaven and man." The daimyo of the land of Earth scoffed. "Who do you think you are, daring to spout such nonsense in front of us?" Hashirama, unperturbed by the insult, calmly replied, "My name is Senju Hashirama, the head of the Senju clan of the Land of Fire, so you're a clan head. Looking at you, I thought you were just some greenhorn who popped up out of nowhere." The daimyo of the Land of Earth was even more disdainful. The Senju clan members were instantly enraged upon hearing this, but restrained themselves due to the occasion. Hashirama continued, "I urge the 4 daimyo to cease hostilities and withdraw their troops for the sake of their own people. Let us not allow a bloodbath to unfold in the ninja world. The Land of Fire is willing to stand with the 4 great nations to safeguard peace. Is he a fool? How can we possibly stop the war at this point?" The daimyo of the Land of Water couldn't help but speak up. "Besides, even if there is bloodshed, it will only be your Land of Fire that suffers. What does it have to do with us 4 great nations?" Hashirama's gaze gradually hardened and sharpened. "A daimyo should possess unparalleled benevolence and righteousness. If you harbor such thoughts, then, with all due respect, you are unworthy to be daimyo." A brief silence fell over the entire hall. The clan leaders all turned their gazes to Hashirama, each with their own thoughts. This guy, Madara Uchiha, narrowed his eyes slightly. So many years had passed, and Hashirama was still the same foolish man, speaking and acting entirely on his own whims, without the slightest change. Like Madara, Uzumaki Ryu also felt his son-in-law was too rigid and inflexible. His initial refusal to lead his clan to join Uzashio village only highlighted his foolishness. The other party was a genuine daimyo. How could they be deemed unworthy just because you say so? If given another chance, Uzumaki Ryu would still marry his daughter to him. Ridiculous, the Land of Earth daimyo scoffed. "Whether we are worthy of being daimyo or not. How dare you, a man on the verge of national ruin, judge us?" Aishiga, first Tsuchikage, go and break down the walls, and kill Hashirama Senju. Yes, Aishiga, a middle-aged man with a long beard, obeyed the order, standing guard beside the Land of Earth daimyo. Earth release, earth tremor technique. Aishiga formed hand seals, his eyes gleaming, and slammed his palm into the ground. Boom, an 8-magnitude earthquake was triggered instantly. The earth trembled violently, rocks crumbled and collapsed, and a destructive force rushed straight towards Yamen Pass. Chapter 116 Sage Art, Wood Release, True Tree Thousand Hands, shocking the entire audience. Damn it, the clan leaders of the Land of Fire paled. They sensed the immense power contained in this ninjutsu, enough to destroy the walls of Yamen Pass. Once the walls were destroyed, they would be forced into close combat with the allied forces of the 4 nations, but the numbers of soldiers and ninjas were completely unequal, and a direct confrontation would inevitably result in heavy casualties. They had to stop this ninjutsu. Just as this thought crossed their minds, suddenly, Sage Art, Wood Release, True Tree Thousand Hands, Hashirama's voice, filled with rage, resounded. Boom! In an instant, it was as if the heavens and earth had collapsed, and a terrifying roar echoed in everyone's ears. A 1,000-armed Buddha statue rapidly expanded at an unimaginable speed, growing to a terrifying height of several hundred feet in a short moment, standing in front of the main gate of Yanmen Pass, blocking the attack of the Ishigo ninjutsu while indifferently overlooking the world. This is impossible. On the city wall, everyone, from ordinary soldiers to clan leaders, was utterly dumbfounded. A massive shadow enveloped them, and looking up, they could only see a colossal, 1,000-armed Buddha, towering into the clouds. Hashirama stood atop the Buddha's shoulders, dark eyeshadow around his eyes, his back ramrod straight as a javelin. What kind of ninjutsu is that? Sasuke Sarutobi was deeply shocked, unable to believe that Hashirama could unleash such power. He wasn't the only one stunned. Uzumaki Ryu, Senju Batsuma, Uchiha Madara, Hyuga Tenin, Uzumaki Mito, and others were equally incredulous. Is this really my older brother? Tobirama murmured to himself. He knew his older brother was strong, but since returning from learning Sage Mode a few years ago, he hadn't formally fought anyone, so even he didn't know the upper limit of Hashirama's current strength. The Whirlwind Dragon looked at Mito with astonishment and confusion. Mito understood her father's meaning, but she was completely bewildered. Although she and Hashirama shared a bed and lived together day and night, she genuinely didn't understand why her seemingly simple-minded husband was so strong. My Susanoo isn't even as big as one of the Buddha's hands. Hashirama, so you were letting me win all these years? Madara Uchiha was the most severely affected, almost to the point of becoming withdrawn. Hashirama had never used this technique in their previous battles. No matter what, as long as I live, I will never allow the armies of the four nations to set foot in the land of fire. On the Buddha's shoulder, Hashirama spoke each word in a deep voice, demonstrating his unwavering determination. He would never stand by and watch the land of fire perish, nor would he allow it to be a bloodbath and devastation. For this, he would even kill the daimyo of the four nations. Many people thought Hashirama was soft-hearted and compassionate, but they didn't know that when Hashirama made up his mind to do something, he was extremely decisive. Whoosh, not far away, hundreds of thousands of soldiers from the four great nations were startled and retreated in unison by Hashirama's words. Is that really a power that humans can possess? The ninjas of the land of fire are terrifying, astonishing. Even if we outnumber them, we are no match for him. Deep fear was evident in the soldiers' eyes. From their perspective, the towering Buddha before them was like a colossal beast awakened from ancient times, capable of crushing tens of thousands with a single roll. The daimyo of the land of wind reacted particularly strongly. They had fought against Shukaku for many years and had seen monsters before, but in front of the Buddha, Shukaku was as small as a toy. Could the masked man from back then be him? The daimyo of the land of wind seriously doubted, recalling the scene of the masked man crushing Shukaku, and felt a chill run down his spine. No need to panic. The daimyo of the land of lightning remained calm, loudly commanding his subordinates. Hashirama Senju is just one person. After summoning the great Buddha, his chakra must be almost depleted. He's bluffing. Now is the best time to kill him. Although the daimyo of the land of lightning wasn't a ninja, he knew that chakra was the source of a ninja's power, and no ninja could have unlimited chakra. The other three daimyo, who had been filled with anxiety, quickly regained their composure upon hearing this. They understood the daimyo's meaning. At this point, their hundreds of thousands of allied troops couldn't retreat. Even if Hashirama Senju was as terrifying as a tailed beast, they would kill him without hesitation. Whoever can kill Hashirama Senju will be rewarded with 10 million taels of silver, and the Senju clan's territory will be granted to him. The daimyo of the land of water gritted his teeth. His land of water was currently in turmoil, and only by conquering the land of fire could he appease the ninja clans within his country. Sure enough, a great reward always attracts brave men. Immediately, four powerful figures at the level of the land of water's clan chiefs stepped forward. I will go and fight him. Alright, go ahead. The daimyo of the land of water nodded. Fearing their opponents would get there first, the four clan leaders rushed forward, their target Hashirama on the Buddha's shoulder. Water release, Orca explosive kill bullet, water fishing decapitation technique, lava release, melting monster technique, boiling release, clever miss technique. Without any probing, the four unleashed their strongest attacks, 4S rank ninjutsu bombarding Hashirama from different angles. On the walls of Yanmen Pass, Mito's beautiful face changed drastically. Quickly, go support Hashirama. However, before she could finish speaking, the thousand-armed Buddha unleashed 4 arms. The 4 clan leaders' S-rank ninjutsu were like sugar-coated bullets before the Buddha's arms, utterly shattered. What? The 4 clan leaders were shocked, but before they could react, the 4 arms, having already destroyed the ninjutsu, continued their momentum, slamming directly into them. Bang! The ground trembled violently. The giant Buddha's arm slammed the 4 men deep into the ground, then gripped their blood-soaked bodies in its palm and lifted them into the air. 4 daimyo, do you still insist on fighting? Hoshirama demanded in a deep voice from the giant Buddha's shoulder, his remaining 996 arms swaying in the wind. The only response was a deathly silence. Everyone was stunned. 4 clan leaders of the Land of Water couldn't even withstand a single blow from Lord Hoshirama. Excellent. Excellent. The daimyo of the Land of Fire was the first to react, overjoyed. Of course he was happy. With the power Hoshirama was currently displaying, he was practically invincible. Capable of taking on 200,000 soldiers single-handedly. Uzumaki Ryu, Mito, Butsuma, Tobirama, and the others were more shocked than overjoyed, finding it hard to reconcile the Hoshirama who was now holding off hundreds of thousands of troops with the Hoshirama they knew. Uchiha Madara, Hyuga Tenin, Sarutobi Sasuke, and others began to question their existence. Were they truly geniuses on par with Hoshirama? Did they deserve it? After today, the name of Hoshirama Senju will be known throughout every corner of the ninja world. Almost simultaneously, this thought arose in everyone's mind. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 117 The Black Death God appears and extracts the soul. Brother-in-law is indeed incredibly brave and invincible, living up to his title as the god of shinobi from the original story, Jojuan praised. He was currently hiding deep underground, his gaze piercing through layers of soil as he witnessed Hoshirama overwhelming an army of hundreds of thousands. His blood boiled, and his heart felt greatly at ease. Even the 9-tailed beasts were no match for Hoshirama in his prime. How could the clan leaders of the 4 countries threaten him? He could easily defeat them one by one. Brother-in-law is so impressive, I have to prove myself and find Black Zetsu as soon as possible. Jojuan continued to scan the entire area with his Kagura mind's eye, not missing a single clue. Why is Hoshirama Senju so strong? What makes him so special? Witnessing Hoshirama instantly defeat 4 clan leaders, not only the daimyo of the 4 countries, but even the clan leaders themselves were terrified. What was the concept of a clan leader? They were the pinnacle of their nation's hierarchy, having achieved unparalleled mastery in the field of ninja. Before Hoshirama, the 4 clan leaders were utterly and effortlessly annihilated like children. How could this not be terrifying? 4 daimyo, do you still insist on war? Hoshirama's shout resounded like thunder, echoing across every corner of the battlefield. Whoosh, hundreds of thousands of troops retreated several meters again at his words. The 4 daimyo exchanged bewildered glances, speechless. The clan leaders, who had initially disliked Hoshirama and thought him a fool, also fell silent. They felt they were not fighting against men, but against a god. Hoshirama Senju was too strong, far beyond their imagination. Only the word god could describe him. If you withdraw your troops now, the Land of Fire will still be willing to work with the 4 nations to protect the peace of the ninja world. I urged the 4 daimyo to consider the well-being of the people. Hoshirama didn't press his advantage, softening his tone slightly to offer the 4 daimyo a way out. The daimyo of the Land of Wind was almost certain that he was the masked man from back then. Gritting his teeth, he picked up the megaphone, about to speak. What are you all standing there for? A cold voice suddenly rang in the minds of the 4. Once the arrow is released, there's no turning back. As long as you kill Hoshirama Senju, the Land of Fire will be yours for the taking. You want all 4 clan leaders to join forces to kill him? Do you really think he can defy the heavens alone? As soon as the words fell, the 100,000-strong White Zetsu army immediately mobilized, fearlessly charging towards the 1,000-armed Buddha. Quickly, go out of the city to support clan leader Hoshirama. The daimyo of the Land of Fire hurriedly shouted the order. Hoshirama was so invincible that he was no longer afraid of a head-on battle with the 4-nation alliance. No need to support me. However, Hoshirama refused. Everyone from the Land of Fire was stunned. Mito's expression was complicated. As his wife, She was undoubtedly the one who understood Hashirama best. She understood that Hashirama did not want a full-scale war to break out, as that would cause massive casualties and make the situation uncontrollable. He wanted to stop the war with his own strength. Sage art, descent of the flower tree world. Hashirama clapped his hands, and his shout brought forth a spectacular display. Rumble. From the depths of the earth, countless branches and vines rose, tearing through mountains and piercing rocks, instantly coalescing into a forest that enveloped the White Zetsu army, indiscriminately suppressing them. Bound by the branches, the White Zetsu army struggled desperately. At that moment, the flowers covering the branches bloomed, releasing countless poisonous pollen particles. The White Zetsu army, after inhaling the pollen, collapsed like wheat being harvested. Seeing how easily Hashirama had withstood the White Zetsu army's attack, the four daimyo grew increasingly terrified, daring not to order their troops to follow the White Zetsu's charge. Hidden in the shadows, Black Zetsu gritted his teeth in anger. "Are you here to watch a show? Get your men here. Finally found you." At that moment, a masked man draped in a green cloak emerged from the ground before the four daimyo's carriage. "Who is it?" The four daimyo were suddenly horrified, thinking the man was an assassin sent by the Land of Fire to kill them. A masked man, the daimyo of the Land of Winds, was horrified. Jojuan had left an indelible impression on him. The next second, he hurriedly shouted, "Protect the Emperor! Protect the Emperor! Protect your mother's Emperor!" Jojuan didn't even look at the four daimyo, his eyes fixed on a middle-aged man beside the carriage. He had been searching underground for so long, and finally sensed Black Zetsu's aura from the man. Sage art, universal pull. He stretched out his palm, and a terrifying suction force swept out. The man immediately lost control of himself, his face filled with terror as he shot towards Jojuan. Jojuan grabbed his neck with one hand and slammed him to the ground. With a boom, the ground cracked and shattered, creating a crater several meters wide. Jojuan raised his other hand, and a truth-seeking ball shot out from his palm, condensing into the shape of a spear. He gripped the spear and decisively plunged it into the man's chest and abdomen, pinning him to the crater. Then, he condensed Sage Art, Wind Release, Risen Shuriken. Such a powerful chakra fluctuation, the clan leaders around him paled. They sensed terrifying power from the shuriken, and their first reaction wasn't to attack Jojuan, but to retreat far away with their daimyo. After a brief gathering of strength, Jojuan quickly prepared his ultimate attack and slammed it down on the man without hesitation. Boom! The Wind Release, Spiral Shuriken, enhanced by 2 modes, was incredibly powerful. The earth shattered and collapsed inch by inch, and terrifying shockwaves erupted in all directions, blowing everyone within a radius of hundreds of meters away. The four daimyo fared terribly, tumbling several times in the carriage, their heads bleeding and their vision blurred. Jojuan knew that even Sage Art couldn't kill Black Zetsu. His series of attacks were only to restrain him for the subsequent sealing phase. He stared intently into the dust-filled crater, but could only see a few fragmented white limbs, with no trace of Black Zetsu. Was the White Zetsu clone deceived? Jojuan's heart sank. The next moment, a chilling voice rang in his ear. "Masked hero, you've fallen for my trap." Jojuan turned his head sharply, immediately feeling a cold sensation in his abdomen as if something had pierced through him. He was draped in a celestial cloak. No ninjutsu should have been able to harm him. "Didn't expect that. Did you?" Black Zetsu's hideous face came into view. Jojuan lowered his head with difficulty and saw a transparent hand piercing through his stomach, his soul being gripped tightly. "This is the method you used to seal me 4 years ago? I'm returning it to you intact." Black Zetsu grinned evilly. After merging with the Grim Reaper, he had also gained the Grim Reaper's demonic power. The hand twitched, pulling half of Jojuan's soul out of his stomach. Jojuan grabbed Black Zetsu's hand and tried to pull it back, but because he was both in a state of soul extraction and possessed by Black Zetsu who had seized control of his body, he couldn't exert even a tenth of his strength under the dual influence, only able to slow down the extraction of his soul. "Give up struggling. You're doomed this time, and no one can save you," Heiju said sinisterly. Before long, he had extracted most of Jojuan's soul. Chapter 118 Immortal Technique. Earth Explosion Star shocks the entire audience. "What right do you have to fight me? Do you think you're one of those 2 bastards, Hagoromo and Hamura?" Black Zetsu declared his victory while withdrawing his soul, his words arrogant and shameless. Jojuan stared intently at his opponent, when suddenly, a crimson light flashed in his left eye. He activated a lesser farewell to heaven technique. His spirit, aided by the power of his main Gekkyou Sharingan, invaded Black Zetsu's mind, altering his thoughts and will. I'm your father. I'm your father. Unexpectedly, the lesser farewell to heaven technique failed. Black Zetsu's will was unbreakable, at least with Zhou current level of eye power. It couldn't be altered, only causing him to lose focus for a moment. But that moment was enough. Zhou regained control of his body, immediately tearing open the sage's cloak on his chest and activating the 64 seals he had previously planted on his stomach. Whoosh! Instantly, 64 Vajra chains shot out from the technique, binding Black Zetsu's arms and forcibly dragging him into Zhou's body. You think you're so great? Zhou regained the upper hand, panting heavily. In my eyes, you're just a rat in the gutter. Just accept the seal. The 64 Vajra chains, taut as if about to snap, dragged Black Zetsu step by step towards the abyss of ceiling. Black Zetsu was both shocked and furious, never expecting to be outmaneuvered. Seeing his fist about to be swallowed by darkness, he decisively severed his arm bound by the Vajra chains and turned to flee. You think you can escape? Zhou sneered, the 64 Vajra chains continuing to shoot, quickly catching up with Black Zetsu. Just before the chains struck Black Zetsu formed a specific hand seal, his entire body suddenly exploding into countless drops of ink, each rushing off in a different direction. Zhou's eyelids twitched violently. Even with his Tenseigan, he couldn't distinguish which drop of ink was the real Black Zetsu. Or perhaps, every drop of ink was Black Zetsu, and he could be resurrected if only one escaped. There's no other way, I can only use that move. Zhou exhaled a heavy breath. The next second, he unleashed the full power of his reincarnation eye, roaring, Sage Art, Planetary Devastation. On another battlefield, Hashirama was single-handedly suppressing the White Zetsu army. No matter how frantic and dense the White Zetsu's attacks were, they were all firmly countered by Hashirama's wood release. Clan Chief Hashirama single-handedly resisted the four-nation alliance. Such unparalleled style is unprecedented and will never be repeated. Sarutobi Sasuke admired him from the bottom of his heart. Hyuga Tenjin nodded in agreement. After today, Clan Chief Hashirama will surely be famous in the ninja world. I am no match for him. Uchiha Madara remained silent, his fingernails piercing his palms, and blood seeped from between his fingers, showing that his heart was not as calm as it appeared. Uzumaki Ryu's expression was extremely complicated. His son-in-law had given him a huge surprise today, one that he had never been so shocked in his life. Hashirama had hidden his true strength very well. Before today, no one knew his trump card. Could it be that Hashirama's previous foolishness was a deliberate act? Was he actually wise beyond his years? Uzumaki Ryu couldn't help but wonder. Then he felt a pang of regret. It was a pity that Hashirama wasn't his son. A son-in-law was ultimately just a son-in-law. Hashirama had always disagreed with his plan to establish a nation, and no matter how much he pleaded, he refused to lead his clan to join Uzashio village. If Uzashio village had Hashirama in charge, even if they established a nation right now, they wouldn't fear any external threats, and might even unify the ninja world within the next few decades. Uzumaki Ryu's eyes flashed. His ambitions were grand, but there was no possibility of achieving them. All his words ultimately boiled down to a sigh. If only my son were as strong as Hashirama. Look, what's happening over there? The daimyo suddenly exclaimed, pointing towards the center of the Four Nations Alliance. Everyone was confused and followed his gaze. That's it. Hyuga Tenjin's Byakugan eyes narrowed sharply, his expression changing. A tremendous change was taking place in the center of the Four Nations Alliance's territory. Countless sand, stones, and vegetation flew into the sky, coalescing into a huge black shadow. Sage Art, Planetary Devastation. The moment Zhou finished speaking, the earth and sky within a kilometer radius instantly shattered. This was a ninjutsu he had developed over the past 4 years through research on gravity. Although it was also called Planetary Devastation, it differed from the version performed with a Rinnegan. It lacked the distinctive small black sphere. It simply manipulated gravity to gather all surrounding objects. Boom! A terrifying roar deafened everyone, and the earth shattered. Sand, stones, vegetation, and countless drops of ink from Black Zetsu's explosion were all drawn upwards by gravity, coalescing into a massive sphere. Thousands of soldiers in the distance were caught in the blast of planetary devastation, flying uncontrollably towards the sphere like the sand, stones, and vegetation, screaming desperately, "Help! Help me! I don't want to die. I don't want to fight anymore. Save me, Soldiers further away were terrified, fleeing for their lives in complete disarray. Joshua knew Black Zetsu had the ability to possess others. Burying ordinary people and Black Zetsu alive together in Chibaku Tensei would likely lead to unforeseen consequences. He gritted his teeth, further unleashing the power of his reincarnation eye, and roared, "Get out of the way!" He waved his hand, manipulating gravity to fling thousands of soldiers out of Chibaku Tensei's absorption range. This action placed a tremendous strain on him, causing 2 streams of blood to flow from his nostrils and drip down his chin. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. A voice filled with extreme terror came from a drop of ink. This is clearly a technique used by those 2 bastards, Hagoromo and Hamura. How could you possibly know how to use it? Who are you? Who are you? At this moment, Black Zetsu recalled the fear of Kaguya being sealed by Chibaku Tensei 1,000 years ago, feeling as if the end of the world was imminent. You can ask Kaguya that question when you see her, Joshua sneered, increasing the output of his eye power, determined to eliminate Black Zetsu completely in one fell swoop. Boom! The impact of the planetary devastation expanded, shattering the entire land into fragments, with rubble and sand accumulating everywhere. Ninja art, telescope technique. At the same time, atop the Yanmen Pass, Sarutobi Sasuke took out a crystal ball and used a secret technique of his Sarutobi clan. The scene unfolding thousands of meters away was instantly reflected on the crystal ball surface. Except for the Hyuga clan, everyone in the Land of Fire stared intently at the crystal ball. A masked figure draped in a sage's cloak stood with his hands clasped in prayer amidst the ruins. The earth around him was devastated, with clouds of earth constantly rising and gathering in the sky. A massive sphere, approximately 100 feet in diameter, hovered above his head, and its size continued to increase over time. Hiss, the Fire Country daimyo, with his poor mental fortitude, was the first to gasp. Who is that person? Is he creating a meteorite on the spot? Chapter 119 Killing the Masked Man, Reward of 1 billion silver. This statement resonated with many. The earthen sphere on the masked man's head was enormous, obscuring the sky and irregularly shaped, almost identical to a meteorite, except that a meteorite falls from the sky, while this earthen sphere rises upwards. What kind of immense power would be needed to do that? The Kurama clan chief found the scene in the crystal ball unbearable. Even with Genjutsu, he couldn't create such a terrifying illusion. The mental energy required would be completely draining him. I've never heard of such a person in the ninja world. Which ninja clan does he come from? This question became the biggest mystery for Uzumaki Ryu, Mito, Tobirama, and others, who desperately wanted to know more about the masked man. Only Hyuga Tenjin remained bewildered. He felt the masked man was very similar to the masked hero who had helped their Hyuga clan 4 years ago, but there were some differences in their appearances, so he dared not draw any conclusions. Perhaps the masked man intends to use that earthen sphere to fight against Hashirama's 1,000-armed Buddha. At this moment, Uchiha Madara, who had remained silent, suddenly spoke, his Mangekyou Sharingan surging crimson. It's certainly possible, Uzumaki Ryu nodded slowly, agreeing with Madara's statement. The masked man's appearance in the Shikoku army undoubtedly means he's a Shikoku ninja. Moreover, the size of the earth sphere he created is comparable to the 1,000-armed Buddha. If the two sides were to clash, the outcome would be uncertain. Upon hearing this, everyone's mood turned heavy. The appearance of a powerful figure in the Shikoku army who could rival Hashirama was not good news for them. The daimyo was the most anxious. Hashirama was about to turn the tide and sweep away the allied forces, but then a masked powerhouse of equal strength appeared. How could he accept this? Clan leaders, the best we can do now is stop the masked man. We can't let him continue to expand the earth sphere, the daimyo said anxiously. Sarutobi Sasuke, Uzumaki Ryu, and the others looked at him as if he were a fool. The scene of Hashirama instantly killing the 4 clan leaders was still vivid in their minds. Now, rushing into the allied forces' headquarters to stop the masked man was practically suicide. No one paid any attention to the daimyo. Hyuga Tenjin hesitated several times, wanting to tell everyone that the masked man might not be a ninja from the 4 nations, but could very well be a rogue ninja from the Land of Fire. However, fearing a misjudgment, he dared not speak rashly. The people of the Land of Fire were in a state of panic, and the 4 nations' allied forces were no better off. Fear, like a plague, permeated everyone's hearts. Run, can anyone tell me what the thing is? It must be the god of shinobi. Otherwise, why is it so terrifying? Looking at the meteorite that blotted out the sky, the hundreds of thousands of soldiers were terrified, abandoning all military discipline and desperately fleeing into the distance. The shock of the planetary devastation was greater than that of the thousand-armed Buddha. After all, the thousand-armed Buddha was still some distance away, but the planetary devastation was hovering directly overhead, and if it crashed down, it would definitely crush a large number of people. In the distance, Hashirama, who was suppressing the White Zetsu army, also noticed the power of the planetary devastation. His heart skipped a beat, and then he quickly focused his gaze, his eyes landing on Jojuan. The masked brother. Hashirama's face instantly lit up with joy. Unlike Hyuga Tenjin, he recognized the man at a glance as the masked hero who had sworn brotherhood with him years ago. Although the man was wearing a sage's cloak and his appearance was different from before, Hashirama clearly saw the two patches of eyeshadow around his eyes. He had them too. They were the characteristics of entering the slug sage's sage mode. So many years have passed, and the masked brother has also successfully mastered sage mode. His appearance this time must also be to stop the war and save the land of fire. Hashirama felt reassured. Although he had only met the masked hero many years ago, their sworn brotherhood had not diminished in the slightest. He was certain that the masked hero was a more righteous person than himself. I must resolve this battlefield as soon as possible and go support the masked brother. Thinking this, Hashirama unleashed the power of wood release without reservation, sweeping through the White Zetsu army. Oh no, that person buried Demon Slayer alive in the earthen sphere. The four daimyo stared at the masked man in horror. Unlike the Fire Country ninjas who only watched the live broadcast from the crystal ball halfway through, they witnessed the entire power struggle between Black Zetsu and Jojuan. With Demon Slayer dead, do we still have a chance of winning? The Earth Country daimyo was in turmoil. Their four-nation alliance was entirely brokered by Black Zetsu, making him their backbone. Now that he was gone, they were completely lost. If it was just to kill Demon Slayer, the masked man wouldn't have made such a fuss. The Lightning Country daimyo analyzed calmly. He probably wanted to use that earth ball to crush our allied forces in one fell swoop. The Water Country daimyo exclaimed in shock. What? Is he also a ninja from the Fire Country? Yes, the Wind Country daimyo gritted his teeth in resentment. Other daimyo hadn't seen the masked man, but he had. The masked man, like Hashirama Senju, is a ninja from the Land of Fire. 4 years ago, he was instructed by the daimyo of the Land of Fire to prevent our Land of Wind from sealing the one-tailed Shukaku. He's despicable and shameless. Upon hearing this, the daimyo were instantly terrified. What? We're already struggling against the Land of Fire with just Hashirama Senju, and now there's another masked man. How can the Land of Fire have so many strong ninjas? How can we fight this war? What are we going to use? Looking at the terrifying Chibaku Tensei above them, which resembled a small continent, the four daimyo felt a deep despair. If they had known the situation would turn out this way, they wouldn't have formed an alliance to attack the Land of Fire. They would have fled as far away as possible. Anyone who encountered the Land of Fire would die. The daimyo of the Land of Wind gritted his teeth and said, no matter what, we must stop the masked man from condensing the earth ball. Otherwise, once the earth ball falls, we will suffer countless casualties. If it were just ordinary soldiers dying, that would be one thing, but they were also within the range of Chibaku Tensei's destruction, so they had no choice but to stop it. The masked man must have exhausted his chakra to condense the earth sphere. He's at his last gasp. All ninjas of the Land of Wind, heed my command. Whoever kills the masked man will receive a bounty of 10 billion taels of silver. The Land of Wind roared, fueled by both old and new grudges. He was completely willing to risk everything to kill the masked man, offering a bounty 100 times higher than the one offered for killing Hashirama. The Land of Earth, too. A bounty of 10 billion taels of silver for the one who kills the masked man. The Land of Lightning, the same goes. The other three daimyo echoed. They knew that drastic measures were needed to overcome the ninja's fear of the masked man. They had to offer a hefty reward. They had to offer a hefty reward because if the masked man didn't die, they would be the ones to perish. Once the earth sphere crashed down, the daimyo, being ordinary people, would have no chance of survival. Therefore, to save their own lives, the four daimyo were willing to pay any price. Soon, tens of thousands of ninjas from the four countries couldn't resist the lure of money and eagerly prepared to fight. Chapter 120 reveals the mystery, the masked man's true identity. However, not just anyone could pull off this move. Some ninjas attempted close quarters combat against the masked man, But once they got within a kilometer radius of Zhouzhuan, they were drawn in by a powerful gravitational pull and uncontrollably flew towards the planetary devastation. "You're courting death," Zhouzhuan roared, unleashing a repulsive force with his other hand, blasting all the ninjas who were drawn in into a bloody mist. He was now at a critical juncture in sealing Black Zetsu, and could not afford any mistakes. Only Black Zetsu was allowed to exist within the planetary devastation. While sealing Black Zetsu, he was also using wind release, wind following hearing technique to observe the surrounding movements, knowing that the daimyo of the four countries had offered a hefty bounty for his life. "The area around the masked man has become a forbidden zone. We can't approach him." The ninjas from the four countries were extremely troubled after seeing the fate of the ninjas who had been drawn in. It was as if a billion taels of silver were right in front of them, but they couldn't take it. Attack him with long-range ninjutsu. Soon, someone came up with an idea and put it into practice. Ninja art, exploding water wave technique, earth release, array piercing technique, lightning blade. In an instant, hundreds upon hundreds of ninjutsu techniques shot out, like dazzling streaks of light, aiming directly at the masked man beneath the planetary devastation. Zhouzhuan's expression changed slightly upon seeing this. "Is Black Zetsu your father or who? You really don't want me to seal him away?" He was enraged, but not overly worried, believing that ninjutsu of that level posed no threat to him. As Zhouzhuan had expected, after traversing hundreds of meters, the ninjutsu were further weakened by the gravitational pull of the planetary devastation, their power almost completely reduced, and none of them hide him. "Unless a clan leader-level expert intervenes, they won't even be able to touch me." PFFT, this thought had barely formed when, in the next instant, a spear entirely formed from sand pierced his chest. Zhouzhuan's lips twitched. The slap in the face came too fast, like a tornado. "Got it." In the distance, a sand ninja of clan rank laughed wildly. "The withering spear is a forbidden ninjutsu of our clan. Once it hits an opponent, it will instantly drain all the moisture from their body. The masked man is doomed." "Ha ha ha!" His hearty laughter didn't last long before he was slapped in the face. The spear shattered into dust particles, crumbling into pieces, while Zhouzhuan remained unharmed. His sage cloak possessed the ability to absorb ninjutsu, so the withering spear couldn't even pierce his clothing, let alone drain his moisture. How is this possible? The sand ninja's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets in disbelief. How could anyone survive a direct hit from the withering spear? The other ninjas from various countries breathed a sigh of relief. They had genuinely worried that the masked man would be instantly killed, thus missing out on the 1 billion bounty. "We must go all out. The masked man can only die by my hand," the clan leaders all thought to themselves, unleashing their killing moves in unison. Lava release, lava eruption, scorch release, scorching power, explosion release, heavenly thunder, storm release, relentless locking. This wave of ninjutsu attacks was all from the bloodline limit, each move possessing earth-shattering power, demonstrating the clan leader's eagerness to kill Zhouzhuan. "They're surrounding the masked man, on the city wall of Yemen Pass," Ashina exclaimed in shock, looking at the image on the crystal ball. The others were also astonished. "The masked man isn't a ninja from the four nations?" the daimyo asked, puzzled. "But he's not a ninja from our land of fire either. Which faction does he belong to? Is he friend or foe?" The clan leaders remained silent, no one was unaware of this question. "The enemy of my enemy is my friend," Uzumaki Ryu said. "Perhaps we can try to contact the masked man and form an alliance with him to fight against the four nations." "I know who the masked man is." Suddenly, Hyuga Tenin interrupted. Everyone was startled and looked at him in surprise. "Clan Chief Tenin, who is he?" the daimyo asked first. "His name is Masked Hero, a wandering ninja from our land of fire, true to his name, a chivalrous hero," Hyuga Tenin introduced. 4 years ago, our Hyuga clan was besieged by the Shimura, Kaguya, and Hazuki clans. At the critical moment, Masked Hero intervened and helped us kill the Hazuki clan chief, resolving the deadly situation. Upon hearing this, two people present changed their expressions drastically. One was Hyuga Tenin's sister, Hyuga Rika, and the other was the Shimura clan chief, the former Shimura elder, who is still struggling with the meaning of double agents. The daimyo was immediately overjoyed. "Is what the Hyuga clan chief said true? The masked man really belongs to our land of fire?" Hyuga Tenin nodded. "I wasn't sure before, but now that I've seen the ninjas from the four countries besiege Masked Hero, I can confirm it. After helping our clan back then, the masked man refused any reward from us, saying he only intervened because he couldn't stand seeing foreign ninjas invading the Land of Fire. He must be here today to stop the Four-Nation Alliance. At this moment, Mito interjected, I remember now. A few years ago, Hashirama told me he became sworn brothers with a man named the Masked Man. That Masked Man was also a wandering ninja from the Land of Fire. Hashirama praised him for his chivalry and noble character. It seems he and the Masked Man the Tennin clan chief spoke of are the same person. Mito's words essentially confirmed the Masked Man's identity, instantly easing the heavy mood of the group. Since he could become Hashirama's sworn brother, the Masked Man must be just as righteous and unparalleled as Hashirama. We never imagined our Land of Fire would have such a low-key, peerless powerhouse. Daimyo laughed loudly. He was extremely excited. Originally, he was worried that the Masked Man would be a formidable enemy, but he had suddenly become an ally, a stroke of good fortune. Hashirama alone was invincible, and now with the addition of a Masked Man who could create meteors to crush the entire battlefield, how could the Land of Fire possibly lose this battle? The Masked Man, huh? Uzumaki Dragon stared intently at the Masked Man's figure in the crystal ball, his mind racing. Hashirama's sworn brother, Uchiha Madara, was extremely concerned about the Masked Man's identity, because in a sense, he was also Hashirama's sworn brother. I can accept that Hashirama suddenly became so strong, but this Masked Man who appeared out of nowhere, what makes him so strong too? Ban was quite unconvinced, refusing to admit he was inferior to others. In the corner, the shadow clone Jojuan had left behind to impersonate the original trembled. He inherited Jojuan's cowardly nature, and he was terrified. What if the veil on the original's face inside the crystal ball fell off, revealing his true identity? What would he, the shadow clone, do then? He would definitely be killed on the spot. The people of the Land of Fire could kill him with just their glares. Original, for my sake, you must disguise yourself well. Chapter 121 Under the Spotlight. Masked Man, are you going to die? The four clan chiefs are using their bloodline limits to attack the Masked Man. Sarutobi Sasuke's exclamation once again drew everyone's attention back to the crystal ball. Previously, the four clan ninjas had only used ordinary ninjutsu to attack the Masked Man, which was difficult to inflict effective damage from a distance. But this time was different. More than 20 clan chiefs of the four countries simultaneously unleashed their bloodline ninjutsu, including Lava Release, Explosion Release, Scorch Release, and Storm Release, bombarding the Masked Man with overwhelming force. It should be noted that the power of bloodline ninjutsu far exceeds that of ordinary ninjutsu. It is powerful and unpredictable. Even a clan chief must be careful when facing an attack from a bloodline user. A slight mistake could lead to defeat. Moreover, the Masked Man was now facing an attack by the bloodlines of more than 20 clan chiefs. There's no way to block it. He definitely has to dodge. Everyone thought so. However, the reality was different from what they imagined. The Masked Man remained in the position of clasped hands, hovering motionless, showing no sign of dodging. Isn't he going to dodge? Uzumaki Ryu, the daimyo, and the others exclaimed in disbelief. He's still gathering the earth sphere above his head. If he doesn't dodge now, it'll be too late. Is he trying to withstand all those ninjutsu? The combined attack of over 20 clan leaders was absolutely destructive, reaching the level of burning mountains and boiling seas. There was no way to withstand it head-on. Even a tailed beast would die if hit directly. Uzumaki Ryu and the others knew this, which was why they were so shocked. In the distance, below planetary devastation, Jojuan stared intently at the dozens of bloodline ninjutsu attacking him. He gritted his teeth, steeled his resolve, and straightened his back. I'll fight you to the death. I don't believe you can break through my sage cloak. Uzumaki Ryu and the others were right. Jojuan was indeed planning to withstand this onslaught. He needed a little more time to seal Black Zetsu with planetary devastation, and he absolutely couldn't give up at this crucial moment. Of course, he valued his life highly. The Sage Cloak, which could absorb ninjutsu, wasn't his only reliance for this risky move. He also had a trump card called Izanagi. The Masked Man isn't dodging, he's courting death. Does he think he has the physique of a tailed beast? To put it bluntly, even if a tailed beast came, he'd still die. The ninjas from the four countries were in an uproar. They thought the Masked Man would use some strange method to resolve the killing situation, but they never expected him to just wait to die on the spot. Only the daimyo of the Land of Winds was uneasy. He couldn't forget that when the masked hero resisted Shukaku's tailed beast fall, all the Sans ninjas believed he was doomed, but he created a miracle, not only surviving but also defeating the tailed beast fall and killing Shukaku. Can he create a miracle this time? Under the gaze of millions of eyes, the attack launched by more than 20 clan leaders finally landed on Zhou without any suspense. Boom! A deafening roar, like a stone breaking the earth, erupted, and the shockwave from the explosion formed a hurricane, sweeping out thousands of meters. Even the Chibaku Tensei floating in the air was affected, with a corner of it being blown off. The masked man must be annihilated. The ninjas couldn't wait to know the outcome, gazing towards the direction of the billowing smoke. Soon, the smoke cleared. The scene that greeted them left tens of thousands of ninjas speechless. What? He's not dead. He's still alive. How is that possible? There's no way he's not dead. Exclamations rose and fell, the crowd incredulous, some even wondering if they were hallucinating. Yes, Zhou was alive. He had successfully survived the deadly attacks of over 20 clan leaders. However, his current appearance was extremely wretched. His sage cloak was tattered, and his body was covered in blood. The most severe wound was on his chest, a gash running from his left shoulder to his abdomen, the flesh torn and deep enough to expose bone, caused by storm release, whose destructive power ranks among the top of bloodline limits. Although the sage cloak had the ability to absorb ninjutsu, there was a limit, and it had clearly exceeded that limit. Really, that almost cost me my life, Zhou thought through gritted teeth. He didn't use Sage Mode Chakra to heal his injuries, but instead used all his power to repair the parts of planetary devastation that had been destroyed. Losing his life wasn't a big deal, he could be resurrected with his energy. But if Black Zetsu was let go, the consequences would be endless, and he might never have another chance to seal him. No need to make a fuss, although the masked man survived, he has suffered a fatal blow. If we had used that attack again, we could have completely annihilated him. The 20-odd clan leaders from the 4 countries suppressed their shock, rallied their forces, and launched another deadly attack on Zhou. Lava release, magma eruption, scorch release, overpowering steam kill, explosion release, thunderclap, storm release, relentless locking. Damn it! Why didn't you 20-odd clan leaders attack the god of shinobi, Hashirama? Why did you have to target me? What, did you think I was an easy target? Zhou was furious. Without the protection of the sage's cloak, Zhou couldn't withstand even a simple B-rank ninjutsu, let alone more than 20 bloodline limit ninjutsu attacks. But he was reluctant to use Id-energy. Initially, to fight Black Zetsu, he hadn't upgraded his left main Gekkyou Sharingan to the 3-tomo form, meaning that activating Id-energy would blind his main Gekkyou Sharingan. He had poured countless efforts into fusing this main Gekkyou, and Kokoro no Tsurugi was indeed very useful. Losing it would be like cutting a piece of his heart. I'll fight you to the death, Sage Art. Shinra Tensei, is the masked hero still planning to fight head-on? On the walls of Yanmen Pass, everyone was worried. Even if they wanted to support the masked hero, it would be too late. The masked hero could have dodged, why didn't he? Tobirama was very puzzled. He gives the impression of desperately guarding a giant sphere of earth in the sky. Is there something important to him inside that sphere? Uzumaki Ryu, Mito, and Ashina stared intently at the blood-soaked masked man inside the crystal ball, speechless. For some reason, a strong sense of anticipation suddenly rose within them, a hope that the masked man would ultimately survive, as if something terrible would happen if he died. In a corner, the shadow clone trembled with fear, constantly praying in his heart, "Original body. Original body, it's one thing if your clothes are destroyed, but please don't let your veil fall off. If the veil falls off, I'm done for." Boom. A deafening explosion resounded again, its power no less than the last. Did it succeed? Even if the masked man has 3 heads and 6 arms, he should be thoroughly dead this time. If he doesn't die, it really makes no sense. It's unacceptable. Tens of thousands of ninjas held their breath, anxiously awaiting the final result. Chapter 122 Fully resurrected, the 4 great nations are terrified. After a long while, the dust settled. A figure could be vaguely seen rising slowly into the air amidst the smoke and dust, hovering above the planet Chibaku Tensei. The masked man, he's a monster, he's absolutely immortal, that's why he can't be killed. Seeing the masked man unharmed, tens of thousands of ninja could no longer conceal their shock, erupting in a huge uproar. The faces of the 20-odd clan leaders were extremely grim, feeling a chill run down their spines. What kind of monster is he? Humans can't, or at least not. A person who can't die is inherently invincible, in stark contrast to the reactions of the ninja from the 4 countries. Seeing the masked man stand firm again, The people of the Land of Fire breathed a sigh of relief. As expected of Hashirama's sworn brother, the masked man's strength is in no way inferior to Hashirama's. The daimyo was overjoyed, wanting to laugh out loud 3 times to release his excitement. Who said the Land of Fire was doomed? With Hashirama and the masked man, 2 great war gods, on our side, who can destroy the Land of Fire? Sarutobi Sasuke, Hyuga Tenin, and the others looked strange. They had to admit that the masked man's strength was indeed no less than Hashirama's, unlike the few of them who were on par with Hashirama but were just weaklings. If I have the chance in the future, I must have a match with you, masked man. Madara clenched his fist and thought silently. He was ambitious and would fight anyone stronger. He would never admit that he was inferior to others. Not only did he not feel any awe for the masked man, but he also wanted to personally challenge him. The masked man has finally moved. At this moment, Tobirama exclaimed in surprise. Is he going to control the earth ball to start a counterattack? In the crystal ball, the masked man, covered in blood, floated up into the air, his feet on the surface of Chibaku Tensei, hovering thousands of meters in the air, looking down at the entire scene. Before this, the masked man stood motionless, enduring all the ninjutsu attacks. Now, his sudden movement was a different signal to anyone with eyes. It's all over, Jojuan thought with lingering fear. He was almost forced to use Izanagi, but fortunately, he managed to deflect the ninjutsu with Shinra Tensei at the last moment, feeling like he had just returned from the brink of death. If you hadn't attacked me, but Chibaku Tensei instead, I might not have been able to withstand the pressure and seal Black Zetsu, but now it's too late, Jojuan thought to himself. He had now completely sealed Black Zetsu in the core of Chibaku Tensei, and even if the clan leaders focused their attacks on Chibaku Tensei, they wouldn't be able to break the inner seal. This battle consumed several times more ocular power than the battle with Shukaku 4 years ago. Fortunately, I've been developing my ocular power and training my body, otherwise, I definitely wouldn't have been able to withstand it in my condition 4 years ago. Jojuan closed his eyes and took a deep breath. The next second, when he reopened his eyes, a burst of blue light erupted from his left eye. Sage Art, Tenseigan Chakra Mode. In the distant Shikatsu forest, the 3 shadow clones Jojuan had left there to cultivate Sage Art instantly exploded, their stored Sage Chakra being redirected back to their original bodies. He even used the trump card of 3 shadow clones. What kind of intense battle is Uzumaki Jojuan facing right now? The slug sage muttered worriedly to herself. When Jojuan left Shikatsu Forest last time, he had told her that he was going to stop the First Shinobi World War and save the Shinobi world, facing an incredibly dangerous situation. Why hasn't he summoned me yet? While worried, the slug sage also felt a pang of resentment. She wanted to share some of Jojuan's burden and help him save the Shinobi world. Jojuan had promised her that if the situation truly became unmanageable, he would summon the slug sage to fight. However, the slug sage waited and waited, but the summoning never came. Jojuan, you don't want me to be in danger, do you? But I won't die. Even if the summoned clone dies, it won't harm my main body. The slug sage suddenly regretted not emphasizing his abilities to Jojuan. Above planet Chibaku Tensei. After receiving the Sage Chakra from the 3 shadow clones, Jojuan returned to his peak condition. With the 2 modes activated, his bloody wounds healed rapidly at a visible speed, and his shattered Sage Cloak reformed and manifested. The masked man's injuries have all healed, even his strangely shaped cloak has been restored. What terrifying regenerative ability! He was already unkillable, and now he's instantly back to normal. Can we continue fighting him? The ninjas from the 4 countries erupted in chaos. They had all clearly witnessed the changes happening to Jojuan. At this moment, even the more than 20 clan leaders felt terrified. They had just unleashed a barrage of bloodline ninjutsu, consuming a large amount of chakra, yet the person they attacked had recovered to full strength in the blink of an eye. Can we really kill such a peerless expert by joining forces? The clan leaders began to doubt, their hearts filled with fear. Jojuan, using the wind release, wind following ear technique, heard the commotion of the ninjas from the 4 countries clearly. A slight smile played on the corners of his mouth, hidden beneath his veil. Having just been brutally beaten, even a mud statue would have some temper, let alone Jojuan, who was never one to be easily angered and always sought revenge. Now you know fear? Too late, he sneered, his voice echoing like thunder. Weren't you all scrambling to kill me for the 1 billion bounty? I'll stand right here and see who dares to lay a hand on me again. His words caused tens of thousands of ninja to retreat in unison, their faces filled with fear. The planetary devastation technique lifted Zhou Zhuan, his sage cloak radiating beauty and holiness, making him appear like a god. The daimyo of the land of wind gritted his teeth, picked up a megaphone, and roared, "Masked man, the land of fire's fate is sealed. Our four-nation alliance's conquest is inevitable. Do you insist on defying the will of heaven?" The other three daimyo quickly echoed, "Yes, masked man, although you are powerful, the tide cannot be turned, and the will of heaven cannot be reversed. We hereby promise that as long as you do not aid the land of fire, whatever you desire, beauty, palaces, wealth, power, we will grant it all." These four old bastards, on the city wall, the daimyo cursed angrily, seeing they are no match for the masked man. They actually resorted to bribery. He was genuinely afraid the masked man would be tempted. After all, everyone in the world is driven by self-interest, and as a daimyo, he understood this all too well. "Don't worry, the masked man will not be tempted," Hyuga Tenin assured him. He was certain that the masked man had helped the Hyuga clan back then without asking for any reward, and even though his sister was a stunning beauty, he was not tempted at all. Chapter 123 If heaven had not given birth to me, the masked hero, the ninja world would have been shrouded in eternal darkness. As Hyuga Tenin had predicted, Zhou Zhuan, far from being swayed by the daimyo's promises, sneered repeatedly, "Heaven's will? You four fat, selfish, and foolish daimyo, dare to represent heaven's will? Do you even know how many floors a bag of rice has to be carried up?" The crowd was stunned, exchanging bewildered glances. Zhou Zhuan continued, "Heaven and earth are ruthless, treating all things like straw dogs. Daimyo are ruthless, treating the common people like straw dogs. You four, for your own selfish desires, even colluded with Black Zetsu to besiege the land of fire, plunging the ninja world into misery. Hoshirama said you were unworthy to be daimyo, but I think he was too lenient. You are not unworthy to be daimyo, but you are not human." These words instantly ignited the entire crowd. Whether at Yanmen Pass or among the Four Kingdoms, uproars erupted. Since ancient times, the daimyo had been the ruler of a nation, above all others, overlooking the entire country. Even though in recent years various ninja clans had broken away from the daimyo's control, they still outwardly had to maintain respect and dared not overstep their bounds. Such an act of publicly rebuking a daimyo in front of hundreds of thousands of people was truly appalling, unprecedented and unlikely to be repeated. Excellent. What a heartless daimyo who treats the people like straw dogs. What a despicable person. The masked hero speaks so well, Ashina cheered repeatedly, his eyes gleaming. He felt the masked hero was the most chivalrous person he had ever met. The word hero was insufficient to describe him, he should be called a great hero. The feelings of the ninjas from the land of fire were similar to Ashina's. The masked hero's bold words almost ignited their passion. So what if he's a daimyo? Don't talk to me about the etiquette between ruler and subject. A heartless and unjust daimyo is still despised by everyone. The masked hero had spoken their minds, and his words had given them a sense of satisfaction. This masked man is arrogant and rebellious. It seems I can't handle him. A hint of apprehension flickered across the Fire Country's daimyo's face. He had initially been thrilled by the masked man's appearance, even considering recruiting him after the battle. However, judging from the masked man's current behavior, his thoughts were dangerous. He even casually rebuked the daimyo, something even Uzumaki Dragon wouldn't dare do. Compared to him, the simple-minded Hoshirama is easier to control. Hoshirama was right. The masked man is indeed more righteous than him. Mito stared intently at the half of the masked man's face exposed to the air. At this moment, she suddenly felt a strong curiosity about him. What kind of past did the masked man have? Why didn't he show his true face? Why did she feel he looked familiar, as if she had seen him somewhere before? Insolence, the Wind Country's daimyo, enraged, his inherent pride and dignity ignited, took 2 steps forward, megaphone in hand. You talk so arrogantly, but I don't believe you dare kill us. If you kill us, you will be hunted down by the 4 great nations for generations, to the ends of the earth, and everyone and everything connected to you will suffer. Zhou Zhuan's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Are you threatening me? So what if I threaten you? The daimyo of the land of wind retorted sharply. I bet you wouldn't dare kill me, do you? Behind me stands the entire land of wind, the entire 4-nation alliance, and you, Amir, up. The daimyo of the land of wind's words abruptly stopped. He looked down in disbelief and saw his own bloodied and mangled chest. Zhou Zhuan had casually flicked out a chakra ball, piercing through his chest from thousands of meters away. You really dared to do that." The daimyo of the Land of Wind's face was filled with resentment and unwillingness as he collapsed to the ground, dead. "Damien-sama," the ninjas of the Land of Wind cried out, rushing forward to retrieve his body, and cries of grief rang out. The Land of Wind had long been unified, and all the major ninja clans revered a daimyo, which explained the daimyo's exceptional arrogance. A commoner's anger can spill blood 5 steps away. "I, the masked hero, am but a commoner, alone and unassuming. What in this world wouldn't I dare to do?" Jojuan sneered, surveying the hundreds of thousands of soldiers below. "Masked hero, you dared to kill a daimyo. The Land of Wind will never let you go. We will fight you to the death," a Sans ninja of clan leader rank roared, the rest of the Sans ninja glaring at him with shared hatred. "How, as if you think I'd let you go just because you let me go," Jojuan sneered. "If I remember correctly, you were one of the clan leaders who attacked me just now. Every single one of those who laid a hand on me will die today." The daimyo of the Land of Water, Lightning, and Earth were terrified, feeling death so close for the first time. "Masked hero," the Lightning daimyo finally yielded. "I admit, you and Hashirama Senju are the strongest in the world. As long as you two are here, the Land of Fire cannot be destroyed. My Land of Lightning is willing to withdraw its troops and pay war reparations to the Land of Fire afterwards." "Too late," Jojuan interrupted. As he spoke, dozens of truth-seeking balls emerged from his palms one after another, and an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation spread out. "From the moment you put up a 1 billion bounty for my life, it was destined that you 4 daimyo would die here. Masked hero, don't push your luck. We have already bowed down to you." The daimyo of the Land of Water was both shocked and terrified. Jojuan continued creating truth-seeking balls. "You're allowed to bully me, but I can't take revenge? A dignified daimyo, what a show of power. Too bad you can't intimidate me." The Land of Earth's daimyo roared in fury. "Why waste so much breath on him? We have hundreds of thousands of troops here, how can we let him do as he pleases? All clan leaders, listen to my command. Attack and kill the masked man. The bounty is still valid." The clan leaders hesitated only for a moment before quickly making their decision. The masked man had made it clear, he wanted to kill everyone who attacked him, and they had all attacked him. Given the masked man's strength, apart from Hashirama Senju, no clan leader would have a chance against him in a one-on-one fight. Joining forces was their only way out. Storm release, sharpening lock, scorching release, aura overpowering steam, melting release. More than 20 clan leaders worked together, unleashing their bloodline limit ninjutsu once more. This offensive was far more powerful than the previous two. After all, the previous 2 attacks were for the bounty, while this one was for survival. Well done. Facing dozens of ninjutsu of the incinerating level before him, Jojuan showed no sign of retreat. His blood boiled and surged to his brain, his fighting spirit soaring as he roared to the sky. "If the heavens had not given birth to me, the masked hero, the ninja world would have been plunged into eternal darkness." Sage art, Golden Wheel Reincarnation Explosion. He used the power of his Tenseigan to create dozens of truth-seeking balls, condensing them into a giant chakra sword that pierced through the heavens and earth. Its entire body was filled with golden light, carrying the power to split the heavens and earth as it fiercely slashed down towards the clan leaders of the 4 countries. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 124 Immortal Technique Golden Wheel Reincarnation Explosion, Annihilating Everything. In a terrifying explosion, everything was obliterated. The chakra lightsaber utterly shattered all bloodline ninjutsu with a single strike, its momentum undiminished as it swept past over 20 clan leaders and hundreds of ninjas surrounding them. PFFT. 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 Thousands succumbed to the sword's power, their bodies exploding into bloody mist, including 3 daimyo. The power of the Golden Wheel Reincarnation Explosion was too immense, even Jojuan, the caster, couldn't control it precisely. Each strike inevitably caused widespread destruction. However, he showed no mercy, for anyone wounded by the Golden Wheel Reincarnation Explosion had, to some extent, attacked him beforehand and was certainly not innocent. Besides, war is a war where death is inevitable. After confirming the deaths of the 20-odd clan leaders, Jojuan gripped the sword held tightly and, with his remaining strength, continued to slash fiercely at the allied forces of the four nations. Boom! A sandstorm swept across the sky, the ground shook violently as if an epic earthquake had struck, hundreds of thousands of soldiers were thrown about, and even the walls of Yangmen Pass collapsed. Hundreds of thousands of Fire Country soldiers were also scattered and broken. Hiss! After the initial tremors subsided, the daimyo and the people of the Fire Country gasped in astonishment. The masked man is terrifying. What terrifying power! That sword strike could split the heavens and the earth. At this moment, Sarutobi Sasuke's crystal ball could no longer display any images, all he could see was sand and smoke. If heaven hadn't given birth to the masked hero, the ninja world would be shrouded in eternal darkness. A true masterpiece, Ashina roared excitedly, completely captivated by the masked hero's charisma. He turned to Uzumaki Ryu and pleaded, "Father, let's go support the masked hero now." Uzumaki Ryu's eyes flickered, and he was about to speak when the daimyo beside him shouted first, "All soldiers and ninjas, listen to my command. Immediately leave the city to aid the masked hero." Yes, everyone on the city wall agreed without hesitation. The scene of the masked hero slaying the armies of four nations had ignited their passion, and now they were all incredibly excited, wishing they could rush to the battlefield and fight bravely. Meanwhile, on another part of the battlefield, Hashirama unleashed the power of wood released to its fullest extent, completely suppressing the 100,000-strong White Zetsu army. Suddenly, he felt a powerful shock. The earth shook violently. He looked in the direction of the commotion and saw that the area around the Four Nations Alliance was shrouded in sand and dust, with shockwaves and explosions sweeping through, making it impossible to see what was happening. Damn it! Hashirama's first reaction was that something terrible had happened. The sheer scale of the commotion showed just how ferocious the battle was. He was worried about both his sworn brother, the masked hero, and the safety of the Four Nations Alliance. We can't let the war escalate and spiral out of control. The reason he hadn't asked for reinforcements and had fought the White Zetsu army alone was to prevent the war from escalating further. Just as he was worrying, a voice suddenly came from behind. "Brother-in-law, let's go support the masked hero." Ashina, Uzumaki Ryu, Mito, Tobirama, Uchiha Madara, Hyuga Tenin, and a group of other ninjas rushed in with great momentum, followed closely by hundreds of thousands of soldiers. "Big brother, the masked hero is wreaking havoc among the Four Nations Alliance. If we go to reinforce them, we can definitely crush them in one fell swoop," Tobirama shouted as well. Hashirama's heart tightened again upon hearing this. He desperately wanted to know what his brother meant by slaughtering the heavens, but now was clearly not the time to explain. The Fire Country's army had mobilized in full force, and the situation was already out of control. "Alright," Hashirama nodded and, along with Tobirama, Mito, and the others, headed towards the allied forces of the Four Nations. Along the way, he constantly prayed, hoping both that his masked elder brother was safe and that the casualties among the Four Nations armies wouldn't be too heavy. His feelings were extremely conflicted. By the time the Fire Country troops arrived at the scene, the overwhelming sandstorm had mostly dissipated. The scene that greeted them left everyone utterly shocked and speechless. The once flat land was now bisected by a bottomless abyss. That abyss was hundreds of meters wide, stretching from north to south as far as the eye could see, extending for an unknown distance. Divided by the abyss, the land of fire lay to the east, while the four-nation allied forces lay scattered and broken to the west. A massive meteorite hovered above the allied forces, and a masked hero stood atop it, his immortal cloak billowing in the wind. Unlike the scene they had witnessed through the crystal ball, arriving at the scene, everyone truly felt the terror of the earth-shattering devastation. It was as if it were a creation of the gods. "We're still alive. Just now, I seemed to see my father who had passed away many years ago. Thank God, I survived." Hundreds of thousands of soldiers from the Four Nations scrambled to their feet, shaking off the dust. When they saw they were unharmed, many wept with joy, their hearts filled with the relief of surviving a catastrophe. The moment the chakra lightsaber slashed down upon them, hundreds of thousands were terrified, their faces ashen, their hearts filled with despair. They didn't even dare to entertain the thought of resisting the sword. Closing their eyes and awaiting death became their only option. Thankfully, the masked brother is unharmed, and the casualties among the Four Nations armies aren't too heavy. Hashirama breathed a sigh of relief. The worst hadn't happened, there was still time to stop the war. Silence. At this moment, Jojuan, atop planetary devastation, spoke in a deep voice, the booming sound echoing across every corner of the ground. "Of course, He had used chakra to adjust his vocal cords, not using his original voice. If he had used his original voice, Uzumaki Ryu, Mito, and Ashina would definitely have recognized him. The daimyo of the four nations of wind, earth, lightning, and water colluded with Black Zetsu, disregarding the lives of the ninja world's people and launching a war against the land of fire. Now, Black Zetsu, the four daimyo, and the clan leaders of the four nations who were advocating war have all been killed by me, Jojuan announced each word with absolute authority, calmly accepting the gazes of everyone present. However, when his gaze fell on his father, sister, and the others, he felt somewhat uneasy. Considering that you soldiers and ordinary ninjas were all following orders, and some were even forcibly conscripted and are considered victims, I will not make things difficult for you. You can now return to your countries and reunite with your parents and families. He could have easily unleashed the Golden Wheel Reincarnation explosion on the armies of the four nations, indiscriminately crushing tens of thousands, but he didn't. He only used it on an open field, for the reason he himself stated. He wasn't a demonic villain who took pleasure in killing. Everything he had done so far was to protect himself and his family. He would avoid killing if possible. His purpose in appearing this time was actually similar to Hashirama's. First, to seal Black Zetsu, and then to stop the war. Chapter 125. Even though he can hold up the Earth Explosion Star with one hand, he can also swing the Golden Wheel Reincarnation Explosion with the other, making him invincible in the world. Thank you for your forgiveness, Masked Hero. We will definitely behave ourselves and start anew after returning home, and we will never participate in the war again. I just want to stay at home with my wife and children. I had no intention of going to war against the land of fire. It was all because of the daimyo's coercion. I dared not disobey his orders. The soldiers of the four countries were all grateful to Jojuan, and many of their gratitude came from the bottom of their hearts. They were not fools. They knew very well that if Jojuan wanted to kill them, it would be extremely easy. Not to mention that the earth-shattering sword strike just now hadn't hit them. Even if only that meteorite had fallen from above, they wouldn't have been able to withstand it. While some were grateful, others naturally harbored hatred. Among the crowd, some people looked up at Jojuan coldly, their eyes filled with hidden killing intent. Some of them were trusted confidants of the daimyo of the four countries, while others were members of the ninja clans of the four countries, feeling that they had formed an irreconcilable blood feud with the masked hero. Indeed, killing so many influential people, it's impossible not to be hated. Jojuan sensed many fake killing intents in the shadows, and his thoughts were complicated and strange. There was no way around it. His actions today were destined to be controversial. All he could do was follow his heart, leaving the judgment of right and wrong to posterity. Thinking this, his eyes turned cold, and he continued, I know many of you hate me, even want to kill me, but I don't care, because your strength is insufficient to threaten me. I, the masked hero, may need one hand to lift the planetary devastation, but with the other, I can unleash the Golden Wheel Reincarnation explosion, invincible in this world. Upon hearing this, everyone felt a powerful aura of dominance wash over them, and they were all moved and paled. What is domineering? This is it. No matter how many armies, mountains, or tsunamis you face, I have my own invincible confidence. This guy is arrogant beyond measure. Uchiha stared intently at Jojuan, as if trying to memorize this figure. He thought his personality was arrogant enough, but he never expected someone to be even more arrogant. Recalling his earlier words, if the heavens hadn't given birth to me, the masked hero, the ninja world would have remained in eternal darkness. He immediately set the masked hero as his future goal, even prioritizing him over Hashirama. Anyone who wants to kill me can come to the land of fire anytime. I am the masked hero. My name and surname are unchanged. Silence fell over the entire arena. Even the most unconvinced didn't utter a word in rebuttal. The masked hero's invincibility wasn't just talk, it was proven to the world through his actions. Soon, the armies of the four nations withdrew one after another. The entire retreat was spontaneous and perfectly coordinated, without a single word uttered. Hashirama, seeing this, immediately smiled, completely impressed by his sworn brother. He had originally intended to risk his life to stop the war, but he had only suppressed a large number of strange, Black Zetsu-like creatures, and his masked brother had handled everything else for him, a victory that could only be described as effortless. If Hashirama felt he had won by default, then the clan leaders like Uzumaki Ryu, Sarutobi Sasuke, Hyuga Tenin, and Uchiha were simply carried along. Hashirama at least suppressed 100,000 white Zetsu troops, while they did nothing but watch the battlefield unfold from the city walls with crystal balls, only to be completely bewildered by the enemy's rout. The Fire Country daimyo hesitated several times, wanting to speak but stopping himself. He felt it wasn't right to let the four nations' armies go so easily. From a military perspective, they should at least capture a large number of people and extract substantial benefits from the four nations. But he couldn't bring himself to say it. After all, the four-nation coalition had been defeated single-handedly by the Masked Man. The Masked Man had promised to let them go. Why should he object? The Masked Man's killing of the four daimyo still lingered. The Fire Country daimyo was terrified of him. If he accidentally angered him, the Masked Man might retaliate, leaving him with no recourse. "Masked brother, it's been a long time. Would you please come down and have a chat?" Hashirama called out excitedly. He couldn't fly, otherwise he would have already flown to planet Chibaku Tensei to meet his sworn brother. Jojuan smiled faintly, manipulating gravity to fly away from planet Chibaku Tensei and descend towards the people of the Land of Fire. "Brother Hashirama, how have you been?" Greetings to all the clan leaders and daimyo. Jojuan bowed respectfully to everyone, removing his sage cloak. His demeanor instantly transformed from that of a peerless hero who had looked down upon the world to that of an ordinary masked man. Clan leaders such as Uzumaki Ryu and Saratobi Sasuke were immediately flattered, not expecting the masked man to be so approachable in person. They quickly returned the bows. Indeed, being able to become sworn brothers with Hashirama, the masked man's character can't be too eccentric, Uzumaki Ryu thought to himself. Suddenly, he remembered that his second son had also become sworn brothers with Hashirama, and he was so angry that his teeth ached. Both being sworn brothers of Hashirama, if his second son's strength were even 1% of the masked man's, he'd be laughing in his sleep. Thinking this, Uzumaki Dragon glanced back and saw Jojuan standing in an inconspicuous corner of the crowd, head bowed, seemingly overwhelmed by the grand spectacle. "Masked brother, it's fortunate you intervened, otherwise, this war would never have ended so easily," Hashirama praised without reservation, speaking from the heart. "Brother Hashirama, there's no need to be modest. Your role was no less important than mine. If you hadn't held back the White Zetsu army, I wouldn't have been able to deal with the Black Zetsu so easily," Jojuan said, which was indeed true. Hashirama was taken aback. "The White Zetsu army? Those white humans are called White Zetsu?" "Yes," Jojuan nodded. "White Zetsu are humanoid living weapons created by Black Zetsu. They have no thoughts or feelings, and only obey Black Zetsu's orders. Strictly speaking, they are not actually human. You could destroy them all." Jojuan knew that Hashirama was soft-hearted and only used wood release to suppress the White Zetsu army, not killing them. In fact, they could have been killed. "I see," Hashirama suddenly understood. No wonder he had ordered the White Zetsu army to stop, but they had charged forward fearlessly. "You said you were dealing with Black Zetsu. Did you kill him?" Madara Uchiha suddenly spoke up. He was particularly concerned about Black Zetsu. Jojuan gave him a deep look and said, "Yes, I killed him. From now on, there will be no more Black Zetsu in the ninja world. You don't need to worry about him tearing your heart out in the future." Ban frowned. "Why did you kill Black Zetsu? What grudge do you have against him? And how much do you know about him?" This series of questions was utterly impolite, leaving Jojuan speechless. He couldn't understand whether Ban had low emotional intelligence or was just used to being domineering. "I just did something so earth-shattering, with unparalleled divine power, and you don't even know how to be polite when you talk to me." Chapter 126 Dad, you might not believe it, but I'm the rebellious son you hate so much for. After thinking for a moment, he replied, "Black Zetsu has committed countless atrocities over the years, arousing the wrath of both gods and men. It's only natural that I have a grudge against him. As for how much I know about him, that's a personal matter and I cannot disclose it." Madara's furrowed brows remained unchanged, and he wanted to continue pressing for answers. At this moment, Hyuga Tenin, unable to tolerate his arrogance, interjected, 4 years ago, Senior Madara helped our Hyuga clan, and now he has killed our clan's greatest enemy, Black Zetsu. Your kindness to our clan is immeasurable, and all of us in the Hyuga clan are eternally grateful." Even with his thick skin, Madara felt ashamed upon hearing this. He knew that it was precisely because he stole the eyes of Hyuga Tenin's father, Hyuga Tenpu, that he was able to fuse with his current Tenseigan. If Hyuga Tenin knew the truth, he would surely lead his clan to fight him to the death. "Brother Tenin, no need to be so polite. We're kind of destined to meet. I'm a few years older than you, but if you don't mind, you can call me Big Brother like Hashirama did." Tenin was immediately excited. "I couldn't ask for more, Masked Big Brother." Having witnessed firsthand the Masked Man's defeat of the Four Nations Alliance, Tenin felt not only gratitude but also intense admiration and worship, and was naturally eager to get closer to him. "I feel like I'm letting the Hyuga clan down," Jojuan thought, feeling guilty and somewhat uncomfortable with Tenin's enthusiasm. At that moment, he suddenly noticed that Rika Hyuga and Tano Uchiha were giving him strange looks. These two aren't upset that the Masked Man defeated the Four Nations Alliance, thus preventing them from eloping with me, are they? Jojuan muttered, both amused and exasperated. He was joking. Even if the Land of Fire were destroyed, he wouldn't elope with either of them. He had no feelings for either of them. He already had high standards for choosing girls, and now that he was unrivaled in the ninja world, his standards had risen even higher. If a girl wasn't even more outstanding than Mito, she wouldn't even be worthy of his attention. For the first time in his life, Jojuan felt worried about his marriage prospects. Would he really end up alone? As a daimyo of a country, I was unaware that the Land of Fire had such a peerless powerhouse as the Masked Lord. What a dereliction of duty, the daimyo chuckled and leaned closer, sighing. To put it bluntly, this battle was entirely thanks to the efforts of clan head Hashirama and the Masked Lord. You two saved the Land of Fire, and on behalf of the million people of the Land of Fire, I sincerely thank you both. Daimyo, you flatter me. Jojuan remained relatively polite to his own daimyo, not displaying the domineering attitude he had displayed when he killed 4 daimyo. As a citizen of the Land of Fire, it is my duty to step forward when my country is in trouble. These righteous words earned him even more admiring glances, and his reputation soared. The Masked Man is right, Hashirama echoed. Uzumaki Ryu inquired, may I ask which ninja clan in the Land of Fire you, Masked Sir, are from? The daimyo and the others, their curiosity piqued, wore expressions of both doubt and anticipation. Father, you might not believe it, but I'm the rebellious son you so disliked. Ahem, to be honest, Clan Chief Ryu and everyone. My ninja clan was wiped out many years ago. I am the only surviving descendant, homeless and alone, wandering the Land of Fire for years. He used the same excuse he gave Hashirama years ago. Mito seemed thoughtful. She had always felt the man looked familiar, and now she realized she must have met the Masked Wanderer somewhere before. She didn't ask the Masked Man to remove his veil. Undoubtedly, it would be offensive. I'm sorry, I've stirred up painful memories for you, Uzumaki Ryu apologized. Jojuan quickly waved his hand. It's alright, I've long since let go of those feelings. Mito paused, then felt the Masked Man's waving gesture was very familiar. It seemed his younger brother used to wave his hands in fear like this when he was beaten, saying things like, Father, calm down, it's not that serious. If the Masked Swordsman has nowhere to go, why not come to the capital of the Land of Fire? I will certainly treat you as an honored guest. The daimyo hesitated, tentatively extending an olive branch. The clan leaders all had strange expressions. Frankly, they didn't want the Masked Swordsman to be recruited by the daimyo. Once the daimyo gained such powerful combat strength, they would have many more things to fear in the future. Thank you for your kindness, daimyo, Jojuan politely declined. However, I am used to a life of wandering and have no desire to settle down. That's a pity. If you ever need anything, you are welcome to visit the capital at any time, the daimyo said sincerely. Yes, I will. Now that the crisis in the Land of Fire has been resolved, I will not linger any longer and will be leaving now. It's a long road ahead for everyone. I hope we can meet again someday. Hashirama quickly tried to persuade him to stay. Masked Brother, why the rush to leave? We haven't seen each other for many years, and I have so much to say to you. Yes, even if you must leave, there's no need to rush. The daimyo and clan leaders all urged him to stay, wanting to spend more time with this mysterious and unparalleled powerhouse. Jojuan, however, shook his head slightly. He was afraid that if he stayed any longer, his father and sister would see through his disguise, since they were the two people who knew him best. As for his younger brother, Jojuan glanced at Ashina, who was staring at him with eyes shining like a devoted fan. He wasn't worried about Ashina seeing through his disguise. After all, his intelligence was undeniable. Brother Hashirama, true friends are never far apart. You only need to remember that I am your brother within the 4 seas, and that's enough. With that, Jojuan manipulated gravity, riding the wind and shooting towards the horizon. Everyone looked up to watch him disappear into the distance. Only after Jojuan's figure disappeared from sight did Sarutobi Sasuke sigh deeply. The masked man truly possesses the demeanor of a great hero. He rendered such a great service to the land of fire, yet he accepted no reward whatsoever, leaving without a word. Such detachment is truly admirable. Everyone nodded in agreement, unanimously agreeing that the masked man was unfathomable and unfathomable. Clearly, with his strength, he could easily obtain any wealth or power, yet he didn't pursue worldly possessions, choosing instead to be a wandering ninja. Wait, hasn't the masked man forgotten something? Tobirama suddenly realized, asking in surprise. Everyone looked at him in astonishment. Tobirama pointed to the Chibaku Tensei floating in the distance. The masked man didn't put that large earthen ball down. Are you going to let it float in the air forever? Everyone was stunned. What to do with that large earthen ball seemed to have indeed become a problem. Why don't we just let it float? Maybe it can stay in the sky like the moon and never fall down, Ashina suddenly suggested. We can also make it a symbolic landmark of the First Shinobi World War, to be preserved for future generations. In the future, whenever people see this big earthen ball, they will remember today's battle. That's a good idea, everyone pondered and agreed. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.